Welcome to the 40th episode of the Mental Breakthrough. And hopefully this one goes out. I know you've just had a pretty amazing experience, I think. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about you. We did have a podcast before that talked about some family history stuff, which is good to get that out of the way. But there's a theme right now, and I think it's perfect because the as you know me for a long time. I've,
Yeah.
atheist or agnostic, kind of somewhere in between. It's like, okay, where do I define it? I'm definitely spiritual. I'm not a materialist. I've never been like a hardcore scientist, which is also a religion, which I've discussed in some previous um, podcasts, because I do believe that the universe is ultimately immaterial. But I think the main thing where my mind or where I differ from something like Christianity is that there's a creator and that it's separate from the all. But I kind of and I used to focus on that all the time, and I know in our history I've probably come down
Yeah.
very negative on Christianity. A lot of it actually has I've kind of recognized as like, you know what, actually there's so much truth in there. And I think we're actually trying to discover the same thing. So I want to put aside the differences, although I might push back sometimes because I know there's this theme. The one thing I don't usually like about Christianity is like, while even though I think Christianity and Buddhism fundamentally are both trying to um, describe objective truth, like what is reality, what is the reality, which is kind of the focus I want to focus on here. But part of me is just I do have a classical liberal perspective that we can find these answers on our own, and that there's like a doctrination of truth, like Jesus would say, I am truth. You have to accept it and build off it, while Buddha is like, hey, question everything I say, um and find truth for yourself. That's the path
Uh,
I've tend to gone. But but I actually want to just set aside those differences as kind of trivial for now, and and realize that, you know what, we do need to at least establish this objective truth, because society and culture, Western culture in particular, is under attack, we could say, and it's breaking down. And I, coming from me, somebody who you've known all my life, I I don't
yeah.
think any time, or not all your life, but all our
Yeah.
adult life since we were 18, we wrestled together in college. That's where we met, in college. So we must have been 18 years old or something. And then yeah, I've always come down hard and negative on Christianity, but I I would like to say that I can admit we need some more Christian values in
Yeah.
our culture. We need it. So that's where I'd like to start out now. Tell me a little bit about your experience, because I I honestly I thought something happened to you. Maybe I thought you got a
Oh
deal,
yeah.
maybe, or something like that. Because now I almost feel bad. It was 30 days. It wasn't until after about 2 weeks I was like, hey, see, Adams hasn't blown me up. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is kind of cool. I don't have to respond, because I was like, I should say something back, and you've commented on that. And you said you've appreciate that I'll respond back. I'm like, uh-oh. And then it wasn't until, of course, our my son and your daughter have the same birthday, even though I'm one day later. Actually, since he was born in Thailand, there's an overlap that actually they were born the same day. He was born on January 12th in
Oh
America.
wow.
It
Yeah.
was January, because he was born like at 11 p.m. At that time he was born, it would have been January 12th. So
Yeah.
they actually do share the same
Yeah.
cosmological birthday. And when I and then I sent that little message to say, and I was like, oh well, I knew something was going on. I was hoping there'd some other explanation. Why wouldn't you respond even at that? And that had been 3 weeks at that point. And then I started reaching out. Then I started getting nervous. And then boom, literally right at the time when I was like, okay, now I'm seriously worried. Boom, you
Yeah.
popped out. And where were you all those weeks? Go ahead and
No,
share.
it's a good question. Yeah, I ended up going to a Christian life-changing center, which is it's for all kinds of things. And what's it's kind of wild is I didn't really research it before I went. Um, and it's for people with it could be anxiety, drugs, alcohol, uh, demonic possession, just all kinds. Any issue that people are having. It could be sex addiction.
Mhm.
Uh, basically anything that people get into,
Therapeutic.
throughout history, but right,
Yeah.
modern.
Yeah.
Uh, so our nanny's brother runs the program. He's the director of the program. So over the last few years, I've heard about it, but it's one of those things that's kind of vague,
Hmm.
and it's like you don't really know all the details, and like I didn't really ask.
Were you
Uh,
you just knew about it as something that existed, or you actually were interested in partaking, or that wasn't in your mind when you heard about it as
yeah, yeah. So there's a couple things with it. Like somebody very close to her went there
uh,
and so we got kind of some updates through that process of like over the last couple of years when he was there.
yeah.
Uh, like, oh, this after 30 days he called his mom and to like reconcile, or maybe it's 2 months. I'm not exactly sure when you start reaching out to people
Hmm.
in your life to talk about um, I guess childhood things, or whatever
Hmm.
um, issue there might have been, or um, yes. So basically, over the last few years since COVID, I started drinking a lot. Like I've always drank, probably since college, but it was never
Yeah.
like a daily thing. It would be more like partying or going out, or kind of like immature drinking. Like, oh, I had 3 beers and hanging out. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I think you took care of me when I was in blackout mode sometimes, or kind of watched over me a little bit sometimes, but I never remember you being the blackout guy. I can't remember me ever being
yeah,
sober and you out of control, but I think the other way around,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. That's another topic. Is like I never blacked out, which is almost kind of scary in the sense of like not scary in that way, but you wake up and you're remembering like, oh, I did that.
Yeah.
Like,
That was,
kind of you have all that guilt where we
yeah.
talk to you and you'd be
Yeah.
like, you did this, you climbed the building, you did that, and you're like, you're just like for a while I thought you were joking, not joking, but you just didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But you're like, seriously, I have no idea what happened, is
Yeah.
what you'd say. Uh,
Yeah, no, that's
yeah, so to get back up a little bit was like 2 years ago I got off of Suboxone, which is it's like a new methadone, but it doesn't get you high and it blocks your opiate receptor. So I was taking that for 3 years, just like kind of minimal, but like daily. And when I stopped that, like I got all this anxiety and couldn't sleep, and it lasted like weeks, and it felt like my brain wasn't working. But
yeah.
also at that time, it's like when I'm up, you're up. Like I wasn't like mentally ready to quit drinking beer, and so I was drinking a lot more because I was up, and like it wasn't really giving me relief, but at the same time, like I just kept drinking beer. I don't know. It's kind of like the cycle where you can't sleep, you don't feel good, and I don't know, in a weird way, you don't have the courage or the strength to like be like, oh, maybe it's the beer, even though people are telling you, like,
Yeah.
well, if you quit drinking, maybe it'll help. Uh, so from there, and I think part of that is I tried to continue, like I took a week off or 2 weeks off, but I still like taking kids to school, work, trying to like live like function normally, but like things aren't like brain isn't working right, like emotions, uh, like just feeling off.
Hmm.
And
And that's what
so,
made
but
you drinking, or that's when drinking you started drinking more, or
well, like that's where it really got like, because I felt like with the Suboxone, I would drink with it,
so
but
wait,
like I could
you were
manage.
taking the Suboxone to block opiate receptors, but why did you start taking
Oh,
that in the first place?
yeah, yeah. So basically, like I think in like 2015 or 16, I hurt my back like really bad. Like I forget the technical definition of like a disc, like where the nerves were exposed, and
Yeah, yeah. He comes in.
and like I had to go to the hospital and everything, but it wasn't bad enough for surgery. But during that time, I was taking oxys and
Oh,
Percocet,
okay.
and I kind of laid around for like months, Right? Like, like you try to do something, go play tennis and that hurts again. You try to work out and it hurts again. Like, but
Yeah,
in retrospect or knowing it's like with stuff like that, laying down continuously is like the worst thing you can do because you lose all that muscle
yeah, no,
and it's like a fine balance. Like, there's no perfect thing to it, but you got to kind of be lightly active,
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah,
but rest and not overdo it. And it's like, as soon as you feel good for a day, you like overdo
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah. So then at that point, like, doctor stops prescribing, you have to go through like friend of friends, and it's a really like a headache,
Oh, you're
and it gets really
it's,
expensive.
yeah, okay, okay. This is for like
So when
yeah,
my
painkillers or
yeah,
relaxers, whatever. Yeah,
yeah. And then when my daughter was going to be born, my second daughter, it's like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. And somebody's like, oh, you should try Suboxone, just warning you, it's really hard to get off of. But at that time, you're like, oh, okay, like,
yeah.
pills, any other drug, like I've gotten off of, when I was younger, it's like, I'll deal with that later. And then,
So it's weird that, I mean, it almost seems like Suboxone is going to it's gonna, I mean, how is it? I mean, it seems like the purpose is to like secretly give it to somebody so they can't get high. I mean,
yeah,
how does
no,
it
that is it.
actually
Yeah.
it, did you ever like, I mean, what how does it actually help you get off of it? Except, oh, if this doesn't work, so I'll stop doing it. But that seems almost,
So, I mean, I haven't looked it up in a long time, but I think technically, as a super long half life, it doesn't give you the euphoria. And technically, if you were to shoot heroin, or which I never did, but people getting off heroin
yeah, that would be
have done, but oxys are basically like
okay.
pharmaceutical
Yeah,
heroin.
yeah,
So theoretically, it's like, oh, you're not going to get that euphoria. Like, I'm not saying that people don't
yeah.
try to do both
But
or
just
edge
that,
both of them.
no, just that knowing that it was it a cycle? It psychologically helped you get off it, or it actually physically helped you get off it? I mean, it seems like, oh, I can't do it because if I do it, I'm not going to get the euphoria from it, and that's enough to.
But I think what it does is it kind of satisfies that craving where if you
Okay,
don't have it, like if you were really coming
like
down,
the
you could function.
methadone.
You could
I
function.
remember taking the
Yeah.
methadone before, and yeah, that shit made me like just mellow, man. I remember that's the big.
Yeah.
Driving from Phoenix to Napa. I remember Uncle Paulie's Hummer is just like don't even remember the drive. I was just like in a zone, not cool, not cool. Just
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So it,
Yeah,
I mean, it,
that methadone, I guess they moved to something else because people were like, they were becoming methadone junkies because you
I
would,
could see that.
like,
I was,
I would take it like
it's a
thinking like
cruiser, man.
in bed, I'd lay in bed like tickling and like,
Yeah,
ticklish and
yeah, yeah,
like what's called goosebumps and like my brain would be on fire, like thinking and like
yeah, yeah,
creative.
yeah,
And you just lay in bed all night, like feeling
yeah. That,
good,
yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, that was a
But the Suboxone, I think, technically it's kind of like a stupid drug if you think about it, because to be
yeah,
addicted to, because you don't get the euphoria.
yeah,
But here's what is, it's like almost makes you feel normal, and then you think it's when you don't have it uh, that you really notice that you need it. So
yeah, yeah,
it's like having
yeah,
water. Like, oh, you drink water, you're fine. You're like, oh, it's just water. And then when you really don't have it, you're like you need it to like
yeah.
function.
So this was prescribed to you by a physician, or no? Okay, no,
And that's what's crazy about it. It's really, 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 really hard to get. Like
that's weird because
you
it's,
basically like, and I even heard stories like they make you go to a place to pick it up daily, and then when you're
but it's not something
like
you'd take more than enough, or I mean, you wouldn't have any. You don't want to take more of it. Like, there's no like, oh, let's. It's just,
oh yeah, yeah, I think like I never really took, I forget the milligrams, but like to me it's like you kind of peak out, like if you did one or if you did half of one, if you did two or three, I don't
yeah,
think there's,
yeah,
but like, I've also heard stories of people like seriously coming off heroin, seriously like off the pills or fentanyl, who took 3 or 4 a day, during that time.
yeah.
But
Okay,
I was kind of over the few years just doing kind of maintenance, like
yeah.
for everything, like just having it every day.
So anyway,
But so
you
the
got
thing
off
with that
it. You
is,
wanted to get off it, and you did get off it. Just hard,
yeah,
just
well,
stop cold turkey,
yeah,
and then,
yeah, I had prayed about it for a couple of years, like please don't let me get in trouble, like please let me find a peaceful way to get off of it. And I kind of had a mindset like when the time's right, like like for family reasons too. It's like we had a young baby, another kid. My wife was really stressed out with what's it called? The just staying up at night with the baby, breastfeeding, and juggling both kids plus
Oh no.
work. So it
Yeah.
wasn't
Of course.
like
Yeah.
it wasn't the time to be like deal with myself, like
Yeah.
it was like everything's going decent. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna 100% change it.
Mhm.
But I guess if you look it up, like even talking to people at the center and other people, if you look online, it's one of the hardest things. Like they say, it's one of the hardest things to come off of because it has a super strong half life and it really kind of rewires your brain and all
Yeah.
your receptors. Almost worse than like they say heroin or like oxy would, like you
Yeah.
know. But so then after that, it was like the drinking, like really became evident where like couldn't deal with stress. Like I get overwhelmed easy or like managing stuff, whether it's and part of that is like I have a trouble saying no. And what I mean is like if my mom needs help with something or like I always felt like obligations. And if you miss like I always felt behind, like, maybe it's my lifestyle or drinking or not being 100% responsible. Like I always felt like, oh, I didn't do this for my friend or Sam. So I got to make it to this
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
oh, my mom, like I missed that. But like, this is really important,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I feel that. Yeah.
And, uh, And so to fast forward a little bit, this past year, 2020, January 2023, me and my wife started going to church, which to back up, I've
Oh,
always,
cheers.
no, so I
Oh,
was raised, it's kind of a common story. The more I learn about this is raised Christian, kind of raised Catholic with like a lot of like good versus evil, don't do drugs, don't drink, don't have sex before you're married, just like all
yeah.
like Christian society. And then at night, like when I was a young kid, I'd have nightmares, like really bad nightmares, and like praying to Jesus or saying prayers like would really help and they'd go away. So like even this last like 20, 30 years, I'm 41. It's like I prayed every day, like, oh, like if we get in the car, like, oh, please help my family be safe. Or like I wouldn't do like my grandma always told me just talk to God. Like treat him as a friend. Like you can say, just like kind of like a dialogue, like,
Mhm.
oh, I have a really tough project or a really tough like and then I'd also throw in like I'm very thankful for this, thankful for that. So I wouldn't always be like, oh, I need this, I need help. Like
Yeah.
constantly I'd be
Yeah.
like, thank you for this, thank you for that, thank you for Chris David, thank you for him having a healthy child, like
Yeah.
that, like
Yeah. Yeah.
like just whatever's on my mind at that moment.
Yeah.
So I prayed about the Suboxone and luckily with the nanny there, it kind of helped where I was able to have that space to like basically act like I was sick for a week.
Mhm.
And then after that, like told Tammy, like, oh, this is more serious than I thought. Like, this is what's been going on. Which, also like she was confused about the whole thing because she didn't know.
She didn't know
And
you
it was one of those things,
anything.
yeah.
Not
And
the
that's the thing is
oxys,
like
not the Suboxone. Nothing. I mean, the whole thing was all.
no, no, and I mean in retrospect, she'll say like, oh, I knew something was wrong, or
Yeah.
like it's like that thing where there's tension and you guys fight, and like
Yeah.
as I like she'd be like, for example, she'd be like when these people had that stuff, they'd be like, okay, at 1 o'clock at the Galleria or wherever, and you've been like, dang, it's 12:30. I'm watching the kid.
Oh, you got to.
Tammy, can you just
Okay.
watch again? I gotta go run an errand. And it's like you
She
don't
doesn't
have
ask
like
exactly
if
why, but she's thinking something's up. Yeah.
yeah, but like that coordination where it's like if I don't like we're going out of town tomorrow. If I don't get these today,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. 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 No. No. Yeah. For sure. Okay.
that whole thing goes through
Attention.
your head.
Yeah.
And like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
better. Like it's not better in the grand scheme of things, but it's like I'll deal with uh the repercussions from making her
After.
mad or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which talking about all this it like makes me feel really guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But in the time it's like, oh, I'm doing this, like I'm going to work,
Yeah.
I'm doing dishes, I'm helping with the kids, like it's like I just need my meds in a way, like
Mhm.
um but so I knew this alcohol thing was an issue just and actually like a few months ago.
So
So
wait,
what would
alcohol
happen?
thing. So not, that's okay. So you're off the Suboxone, but it's harder than you took like a week off. You said that's when, but and then you realize it wasn't
Yeah.
like you thought originally like, oh, you just take a week off, and it after a week it still was trouble,
No,
but
yeah, still messed up.
you
Like
didn't, you were still committed not to go back to the Suboxone, and
Yeah.
and you were able to not go back at all, or you
Yes. Yeah.
stuck?
And at this point, and at that time, I remember like friends would be like, "Oh, you got to get off that. You got to get off that." And I'd be like, "Okay, like I'm not ready yet, but like I know." Like it would be like that for like a year. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I know what you mean. Like it would always be in their mind, like, okay,
yeah,
like I got
yeah.
to address this.
Just and then yeah,
So,
something
so
would
I,
come up. Okay, after that or after that.
so I think what happened was it was August, so the kids weren't in school.
Hmm.
Like it just like three or four things. Like the guy was out of town. He's like the girl's going out of town. That gets him for like a month. Like you got to buy a bunch right now. It's like I don't really have money.
And
Like
you had
like
to.
it was just like I'm tired of it. Like if I'm gonna do it, like once I didn't pick those up, I'm like okay, like here we go.
Yeah,
Like there wasn't really an option to get more. And I'm not saying I would have. I'm just saying like I would. And so now after I got through that, it's like it's one of those things where you're like scared to death of it. Like I've been around it and I know people that have it, and it's like there's no way. Like even
yeah,
if I found one, just I've thought about that because I moved.
yeah,
I'm like even if I found one, I would probably just throw it away. Like
yeah,
not take it, but like
yeah.
either give it away or
Flush it
throw it
out.
away. You know.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so so then we started going to church, and then our another thing is our nanny was like really she's Ukrainian and like Slavic and like they're really I think it's Pentecost. Like I could get some of this wrong,
yeah.
but really devout where
Just an orthodoxy.
like if you say oh, I got lucky, it's like oh you should have said blessed. Like playing cards, they think of it as like bad, like like where it's kind of like I don't know if I'm explaining it wrong, right? But she brought this influence around my wife, who is Cambodian, who was never raised in a Christian, like with the Christian upbringing we had, like in America,
Yeah,
because she came here when she was older. Her family uh, is Cambodian, Chinese, and it just they don't really talk about religion. Like it was just they're good, great people, but just
yeah,
work hard. It just wasn't a very spiritual household.
yeah,
They were in the Khmer Rouge and
yeah,
went through like concentration camps. So it's I don't know how her dad feels
yeah,
like about it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but
So she,
so
prior to meeting you, she never had gone to church and wasn't interested. I mean, how does she? She's it's just like
well
nothing
she
for
had
her.
went like
I
once
mean,
I
she
think like
embraces
when
it
she
or just kind of does it to because it seems like a good thing.
here's something is like years ago she had gotten into meditation
Hmm.
but it almost did the opposite where she would go meditate and be still and do all that and she'd come out madder like when the kids are crying and like she had to go back to like dealing with like
Yeah,
I'm not using the right words if she ever heard this like I'm
yeah,
summing things up like reality it seemed like she's
yeah.
just sitting in a room stewing and thinking about like oh Chris did this Chris did that like just coming
Uh,
out like more like on
that,
edge
there is a
more on
lot of
edge
that
to
though. Yeah, yeah, there is a lot
more
of. It takes a long time to get over that stuff. Yeah,
yeah I mean more on edge to sounds more on
yeah,
edge to light more on
yeah,
edge to like if
yeah,
I don't know if it makes sense but it's like
yeah.
like it got to the point where we'd be like uh-oh like
Oh,
Tammy's
she's
meditating
meditating.
like
Oh
watch
shit.
out
Yeah.
yeah
All right. Yeah.
yeah
And
but
she
and
recognized it and decided it was unproductive or
well I think over the years that like the Christianity kind of like with the nanny like reading scriptures going to church just that influence that like truly like a good example good role model Christian
okay.
person in the household like daily
Yeah.
like it kind of sparked her interest
Hmm.
and and to backtrack like a year or two ago I was like or like sorry like 3 years ago me and my friend Travis were like oh we should read the Bible like actually read it for ourselves and just with modern life it's like there's podcasts there's this there's that it's like and actually this is a good lesson this I feel stupid for saying this that this was one of my biggest roadblocks I'd always heard growing up that the King James version is the most accurate translation so every time I'd start to read the Bible I'd start at the beginning like Old Testament and read King James version which at the beginning with Genesis, it's very interesting, but then it gets into genealogy, like history of like this is the son of so and so, son, going back to Abraham, like bloodline stuff.
Hmm.
So you kind of just lose track. Where now, I'll fast forward a little bit. It's like there's New International Version, Passion Version, and the New Living Testament version, where I read it and I can just fly through it. Like it doesn't, because of the King James is they reverse like therefore, thy brother. So if you
Oh,
compare the two, it's like the words are out of order and they use newer terms in the updated
yeah.
versions, where it's like
Okay. Yeah.
they get the same point across, but it clicks in your mind
Yeah.
for me.
Just more.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
yes. So I would always get kind of frustrated. And then, so people have told me, and now that I've done it, it makes more sense. It's like, no, you got to start with the New Testament and you got to read a version that like makes sense to you,
Hmm.
which seems so simple. Like now that I read it, it's like, I find it very interesting. It makes sense. And, and I'm,
So you
so
read the
that,
New
I mean, that,
Testament first. Does that then does it make sense without the context of the Old Testament? I mean, I'm considering reading it. I've never read it either, but I don't even I don't know the stories. I mean, you're able to read the New Testament because you know. I mean, even like you said Abraham gene lines. I don't know. I know Adam and Eve are the first people. I don't know who Abraham is or anything like that. I've heard the name, but like I don't know if he's.
yes.
I mean,
So after reading the New Testament, there's four gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So this is what's pretty cool is Matthew is talking about the birth of Jesus, like the manger setting, three wise men going out there, and then it's talking about Jesus living on earth, like the things, the miracles he did, the wisdom he gave. Um, then the next one, Mark, it's a different perspective of the same stories with some other info in
okay.
there.
That's
So
interesting.
these four first gospels, they overlap and are different perspectives, and then they also have different stories in there.
Okay.
So once you read those four, it's like it talks about. So in the Old Testament, you used to have to sacrifice. So I might be getting this wrong if there's like biblical scholars. I'm still learning, and it's hard to
Yeah.
articulate a lot of this. But my understanding is the Old Testament is based on sacrifices. You have to sacrifice animals, give up things to and believe in no adult idols. Like
Yeah.
like
So
idols could be like other gods,
yeah.
other so it's basically still repent for your sins, sacrifice uh, animals, go to church. And it was sorry, and here's the other part. It was based on Moses' laws. So
Okay.
I forget, there could be like 200 laws or 400 laws.
And
And
then
it got to the point where people, you could follow half the laws, 99% of the laws, but if you break one law, you're out of the grace, or out of
and
line,
is
or
the Old Testament is what the Jewish that is basically the Jewish. I mean, it's before Christianity, before Islam, right? Is that true? Would you say? I mean that those are Jewish laws or Jewish a Jewish book
oh,
fundamentally?
okay. Well, actually, I have this timeline in the Old Testament. It says, Introduction. The Bible contains 66 books written by 40 authors, covering a period of approximately 1600 years. The Old Testament was written mostly in Hebrew, a few short passages in Aramaic, about 100 years or more before the Christian era. The entire Old Testament was translated into the Greek language. Our English Bible is a translation from these original languages. The word testament means covenant or agreement. The Old Testament is the covenant God made with the people about their salvation before Christ came. And another thing is the Old Testament was more about the Jewish people being chosen and their path to salvation. So, so it'll make sense when I get to the New Testament
Okay.
stuff. And I could be wrong
Yeah.
about some of the stuff. I'm
Yeah.
summing up how my current understanding.
All right.
In the Old Testament, we find the covenant of law. So it's basically about making a covenant or following the law of God, which was all, I think, the first four books or the book of Moses or written by Moses. And that's called the Torah. So if you find the Torah, it's basically just the books of the Old Testament attributed to Moses about the laws, about And they would do things like you have to be circumcised, you can't be a Gentile, which is anything not of Jewish belief.
Okay.
In the New Testament, we find the covenant of grace that came through Jesus Christ. One led to the other. So basically, my understanding of the New Testament is is the Old Testament, like I think in Isaiah, they predict we will send a savior, God's son, to what's the word? For grace, forgiveness of sins. So for example, that's why when Jesus came, it was such a big deal, because they, even in the book of those first few gospels, they're questioning, like, is this the the my brain, what would it call, the savior? Is this, you know really Jesus Christ as we think of it today?
Mm-hmm.
And so he basically came, died for our sins, and that's all we have to do is believe in him, believe in the Father, the Lord, and we're already forgiven for our sins. And part of that is repent, which means, like, truly say you're sorry, truly ask for forgiveness. And so that's why I say basically the blood of Jesus saved us. Like, he came to earth, God sent his only son, begotten son, to show us the way, to give us the gospel. And then when he died and was resurrected, that's talking about the spiritual, birth. Like, there's hope, like the living, like past the material, flesh and blood. You know? And I don't know, but there's something here. Let me see. But this is really cool. I'll show you this in the future. But it goes through, at our church, they've made a whole timeline where they just broke down everything from the Old Testament,
Mm-hmm.
when it was written, and summarizing, outline everything with, like, chronological relationships of the Old Testament book, like really in depth, like.
Yeah.
Um,
So that was given to you at your so yeah, let's talk about this. Or yeah, let's get back to
yeah.
your your
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Tammy going to church, and we were going. It's like she really, like, caught onto it, like it was like it filled that, like, there's a saying, like, dry bones. Like, the word of God was, like, speaking to her, like it filled in this missing piece of her life. Instead of putting all the pressure on, like, oh, my husband isn't doing this, I'm not happy with this, I'm not happy with that. It's like, okay, like, it's God first, you know, follow the Bible. And it kind of, in a way, took pressure off of, like me, I'm being talking, first person. I'm in my situation. It's like,
yeah.
it gave her hope. It gave her, like, it's like, oh, I've been living life wrong mentally, like, and even the meditation. It's okay to meditate on the Bible, meditate on what you read, but to say, like, it was this meditating without the higher power aspect, I guess you would say.
So
So
you're
then, like, we're going to church and stuff, and she'd always be like, let's read the Bible, like
so
let's do
right
this. And
now. Put me in the time that this is after getting off Suboxone or during.
yeah, so if I got off Suboxone in August 2022, then we started going to church as a family December 2022. And basically, and we're talking, like, going to church on Sundays as a family, like inviting friends and family. She was going to a women's Bible study on, like, a Tuesday night. She would wake up and read the Bible. Uh, we would go to, like, other events with guest speakers. During this time, I call my Ukrainian friend Russ and Marina, they were going to different churches, like Slavic churches, and, like, I would go with them on sometimes. So I was just getting, like, this wide, and it was interesting to me because this is what I wanted. Like, some of them, like the Slavic churches, they're speaking in tongues, and the church we were going to is more like, I won't say intro, but
What does
like,
that mean? Speaking in tongues. I thought that was like satanic or something when I've heard that term.
no, no, I know. And this is part of the thing about actually reading the Bible, is like, there's so many verses in there talking about, like, basically they're saying it's a universal language that it's you communicating directly to God, that the devil can't interfere with and doesn't understand.
Okay.
So a
And
lot of it, it's like the Holy Spirit fills you, and you're just like,
you just make sounds and stuff, just let it come out of
yeah.
you.
But when I was in this Christian center this last month, it's like they speak in tongues, and it's not just repeating patterns and words. It's like you can there's a presence there, and it's 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 different than you probably imagine.
Yeah. Well, I
If
don't know. It sounds
you know
like a
when
Sufi dance or something. I mean, the Sufi Muslims could do they just like, some of them will let themselves just, I mean, where you just let yourself loose,
yeah.
and you can dance and just like let the energy come out of you or something.
Yeah, so it'd go like this, and I can't really do it, but what I'll say is, and somebody just told me this last week, which makes sense. Is like, because I'd pray like, oh, like my own way, like, thank you, God, I appreciate this, I appreciate that, like kind of under my breath or to myself.
Hmm.
And so when this guy, he's like, no, the reason why you like you say, God, please help me with this, like you kind of like not yell, but like you speak it out loud, and it's like you're like begging God, like
Yeah.
and it kind of makes sense. Is like if you really want it, you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, please help me with this. Okay, thank you. It's like it just made like the passion of
Yeah.
like so say you're in a room with like 30 people or 100 people, and they're like everybody's doing their own prayer, like thank you,
Yeah.
Lord, like thank you for saving us, thank you for dying on the cross, and showing us grace and mercy, and sending the Holy Spirit. So that's the other thing, is that the gospel says after Jesus died, he told his disciples, I'm going to send the Holy Spirit to to be my to take my place. Like pray to the Holy Spirit, um, since Jesus isn't on earth. I'm kind of butchering all this,
No,
but
that's okay. So,
um,
yeah, yeah, you already talking about some of the
but
things that happened there,
but
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 leading up.
during this time, I'm still drinking beer,
Yeah.
going to church. Like I'm not really getting hammered. It's just a habit I had.
Are you even
Like if
drinking before
I'm
you go to church?
I
To
gotta
get,
have a beer.
yeah.
Because here's at the point, it's like I'm at the point where anxiety, where like if I didn't have the beer,
Mhm.
it's easier just to have the beer and not get drunk, but like and then carry on with your day
Yeah, speak for yourself.
than
That's the one thing I was never able to do, have just a beer. But I know what you mean. I mean, I know that. I mean, knowing you, I remember. Yeah, but
well, here's an example. Like say you have like 20 things you have to do, like we're like not talking about work, we're talking about like on the weekend, like family obligations. You got a project you want to do, you got catch up on, say, bills. You gotta It's like, is this the time I really want to? Because if I'm not drinking beer during this time, I'm gonna either be like think about, oh, when can I get a beer? I can get a beer. It's like easier just to buy the beer, have it, try to manage it,
yeah.
you know.
I know. I mean, for me, once I drink, then it would be, I'm not going to get anything done. But you
Yeah.
were able to. But like you said, I mean, it's interesting because that's it was easier for me to stop, because I was able to recognize, like, I'm absolutely unable to function if alcohol is in my life. So it almost made it easier for me to cut it out of my life. The fact that you are able to function, it was almost a I mean, there's obviously a good aspect to
Yeah.
it, but it was able, you were able to. I can't believe I lied to myself so long, that because it was so blatantly obvious that I wasn't able to function with alcohol. But you actually are
Well,
able to function, is the problem, that you're actually able
yeah.
to just drink a couple and kind of get through and level you out.
Yeah. And so that brings up two things. Is like I have kind of a sensitive system where, like, my drinking. If I said, oh, in the day, on average I drank 10 beers,
Mhm.
somebody else could be like, I drink a 30 pack, and then I got another 10 pack, or like my point is, and the other thing is like I can't even smell hard liquor like the last like 5, 6, 7 years. I'll throw
Oh,
up. Like if I took a shot
oh
by
yeah.
itself, I'll gag. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
during this, I'm not drinking hard liquor.
Yeah.
And it was just that thing where like a light beer, it's like soft on my stomach. But this actually, what you're saying is like becomes evident. So what happened is, I think getting older, that daily pressure on my organs and kidneys and liver, and then you kind of stop. It kind of kills your appetite. Which when we were younger, you think, oh, you get drunk, you want Jack in the Box, you want a hamburger, but it's kind of the opposite.
Oh, it's
Like the more you drink beer or alcohol, it's like the less you want to eat.
yeah,
The
yeah. My
uh,
mom, I think, lives off. rum and
And
coke.
yeah,
You can go all
and
day
that,
rum and coke.
yeah, that's that thing. It's like I think there's probably a lot of similar patterns between alcoholics. It's just,
Uh-huh.
and then it's like, then it's like, so for example, I did want to bring this up. There's an Andrew, like 3 or 4 months ago, I started looking up because like, okay, let me look up on YouTube alcohol, like how to get off alcohol. Like, should I transition slowly? Which gets into a discipline thing because everybody be like, okay, go from 12 to 10 down to 8, and then go down to 6, and then go down to 3. And you're like, yeah, like I'm going to do that. And then
Uh,
before you know it, you buy a 30 pack and you're like,
yeah,
oh, I must have drank
yeah.
the
I think
30 pack in like 2 days, like,
yeah, yeah. No, cold turkey is the only way I can. It makes sense to me. Those they have those little dwindling downs don't seem to.
but oh, sorry. Sorry. Since I'm thinking about
I
this
know. I
stuff,
mean, I
I'm
know
sorry to cut you off.
cigarettes too. People do that. I think that too. Like, oh, I'll do a pack a day, half a pack a day. I mean, I guess in theory it could work, but yeah, it does seem like
Well, yeah. So this is what started happening. Like you get through like the work week, get through stuff, like everything be going kind of good. And then it's like at some point in the week or within a couple week period, something would happen and you just either pushed it too hard or it's like you'd have this like fall off. I would have this fall off point where like anxiety, like I need to rest, but then I can't sleep. And it was kind of like this cycle that kept happening where as soon as I like started eating again, got feeling good, I'd have a few beers, and then by the end of the week, I'm back to like it's like you get sick, like not throwing up, it's just the anxiety, not sleeping, just not functioning properly. And then after a day or two of feeling good, you're like you kind of just without knowing it, oh shoot, I did that same cycle again that just happened last week.
Mhm,
If it makes sense. So, this is what you said. It wasn't obvious to you, but to others it was.
mhm,
Like Tammy noticed this. Others noticed it.
mhm.
So the last year, I've been like, okay, and none of my friends drink at this age. Like I have friends
Yeah,
who,
most of us. I mean, yeah, I talked to like Courtney said, we've gone. Yeah, we've been trying to
yeah,
get, but you're more fun. You're able to function. I think most of us, at least, you've got like a group of friends that I'm not that close to, but maybe they're all. Are you have
yeah,
you were you always would you always think that you were the one? I mean, I always do remember you as the kind of sitting in the corner watching. You really you enjoyed it being a spectator at parties. Like that was more your thing, is to
yeah,
kind of just watch people go overboard and make fun of them and laugh at like get I mean you're always aware of these situations. You were always the guy that kind of knew what was going on. I never really knew what was going on in a room. I couldn't tell you who else was doing what. Seemed like you kind of always knew what everyone was doing. I don't know. I mean, so you at this point you're the last man standing still drinking. So you're drinking by yourself? I mean, you
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like basically, like one friend would just drink on the weekend, or maybe just buy a 6 pack after, like on a Thursday night. Not drink during the week.
you're drinking at
Others
home,
like
you're drinking at a bar, you're drinking at somebody's house. I mean, I think
well that that
the environment is a big deal. I think, I mean, the
Well,
how
well,
you're
well,
drinking.
that's where I kind of got in this trap with COVID and having a young baby. It's like I can't go do anything just because one baby's asleep, somebody has to be home.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's nap time, and then there was the COVID thing where it's like kind of just got into that habit. Like there's nothing exciting. Like if I have a beer, I'll go do this, or if I'm watching a TV having a beer. So it kind of became like instead of going out, instead of doing drugs, what I'm just saying anything like do it like mountain biking, doing like going to the gym, going to play tennis, just kind of life before kids and marriage, like
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like like it was like there was no like healthy outlet.
Mhm.
And
So you're drinking alone.
oh, what go ahead.
Well, I mean, COVID, during COVID time, especially, you're drinking at
Oh
home
yeah,
alone.
yeah. Well, that's where it kind of gets like you kind of lie to yourself, I
Yeah.
guess you would say, is like I'm not like doing anything. I'm just really just taking the kids to the park. I'm helping with dishes. I'm helping around the house. I'm like you kind of get in that thing like I just like beer, like, I'm not like getting hammered. I'm not waking up with hangovers, but I think the big part of this is I think over time, it just catches up to you. Like, like I'd wake up sometimes, oh, my kidneys hurt, or like, oh, my liver kind of hurts. And then you kind of have a beer and you kind of don't feel it anymore.
Mhm.
But this was going to tie it into as, so like 3-4 months ago, I started looking up on YouTube and I came across this Andrew Huberman podcast about alcohol. And it was like this doctor just talking about all the effects, like how it shrinks your brain, how so it gives you that stress and anxiety because you can't deal with stuff. You stop eating. You're not being as nutritious. You stop being as physically active. It you're it puts so much stress on your kidneys, which I didn't know they could do this. It releases this enzyme that causes anxiety. So it becomes this loop where you think the beer is going to calm me down. I need the beer
Oh
or the
yeah,
alcohol to get my nerves right. But it's this
yeah,
cycle. So that thing, like when I heard it, I was like, it hit on everything. And I recommend it. I can give you the info if you want to post it later or link to it.
yeah, yeah.
Like it's like you hear that, and it's kind of like that thing of like, oh no, this isn't good. Like oh,
It
I'm having
makes
that
sense.
symptom.
Like,
I'm having
yeah,
that symptom.
you know
I'm
that,
having
right?
that.
I mean that's like kind of conventional
Yeah,
wisdom, not the breaking it down scientifically and what the chemicals and the enzymes. I mean, I don't, but I
yeah.
mean, like, we know that like alcohol is kind of makes you, it
It's
makes you
like a
not.
depressant. And,
Yeah. But yeah, it's a temporary, just pushes things back. But I mean, we know that it makes worse, right? I mean, or were you able to actually lie to yourself and
Well,
think that
well,
helping?
it wasn't that, and this will get into the when go into that life changing rehab Christian center
Yeah.
was that so a lot of my intuitions this past couple of years, like when I like you get an argument with Tammy or sorry, my like you kind of defend yourself with like, well, I would say things like I just need a break, and like, but then it's like when I do get a break, I couldn't sleep, or I like it'd be like, okay, well you can go to bed early tonight, but tomorrow we got this and this going on, or the kids will be home and they're jumping on the bed. So I'm not blaming anything.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's just there was like when we were younger, you could maybe take a day or two and just chill on your own or veg out or
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
have the pressures of
Sure.
you know
Life. I mean, yeah.
of yeah oh yeah
Or other, yeah, responsibilities.
yeah. So and then real quick the backup. I started taking those kratom shots after the Suboxone, and I think those were making me dizzy, and like it's one of those things where like my body, like they would calm me down or make me feel good, but then at the same time I think they were making things worse in the grand scheme of things,
Mhm.
uh so to tie it all in, yeah, so I really recommend that. I think it's Andrew Huberman. I'll send it to you.
I've listened to some of his, not that one specifically, but I mean,
Yeah, I actually took a screenshot. Let me just glance at it real quick. It's real quick. So it's the Huberman Lab podcast number 86, and it's what alcohol does to your body, brain, and health. And then here's his synopsis. In this episode, I discuss the psychological effects that drinking alcohol has on the brain and body at different levels of consumption and over time. I also describe genetic differences that predispose certain individuals to alcoholism, binge, and habit drinking. I explain alcohol metabolism in simple terms and how it effectively acts as a poison, leading to cellular stress and damage. I then explain that it impacts neurological function and changes our thinking and behavior. Hallmarks of inebriation. I also discuss how alcohol consumption of different amounts impacts inflammation, stress, neurodegeneration, and cancer risk, and negatively impacts the gut biome, brain thickness, hormone balance, mood, feelings of motivation. Additionally, I discuss the biology of hangovers, describe science-based strategies to mitigate the severity of a hangover. Since alcohol is one of the most widely consumed recreational substances, this episode ought to be of relevance to everyone. Indeed, even low to moderate alcohol consumption negatively impacts the brain and body in direct ways. The goal of this episode is to help make more informed decisions about alcohol. It keeps going, but it's like
Yeah.
hearing
That
all that. It's like,
that was
and
so
part of it
that
is
was how long ago was that when you first that was kind of at the beginning of your little you started looking into this about a year ago or
no. This
longer?
was like 4 months ago. Where it's like I really got to deal with this. Like,
Okay. So this is all right, nice.
yeah. So then, but it's like hearing it, and part of it is wanting to actually look at it. Like okay, like, and then
Yeah,
actually finding a good source.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but then it's like it kind of scares you, and then all of a sudden you're just right back into
Yeah.
the
So
same
yeah,
routine.
4 months. So yeah, leading up. So now we're getting close. We're getting close. So you've identified at least that it's probably bad, but you're still telling yourself you're. I mean, mentally, where are you there? I mean, now you're recognizing for sure it's something you should cut out completely. Or I mean, have you made that
Yeah.
choice yet in your head? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna cut it out, or you're still pushing it.
Oh, well, as of today, I have 31 days sober, 32 days sober. So, I mean, we can catch up to that. But back then, it was like my wife would say, just drink. You can have. I don't care if you drink. Just drink some beer with dinner, or be social with it.
Yeah.
So then it's my
Then it's
thing. I would be
open
like,
though.
what's
Then that's yeah. It's kind
yeah,
of
and I couldn't really manage that. But so we'll tie into there was a point of that. Oh, so on top of all my stress stuff, my wife's like, "Oh, I found a house. Like I want to buy." And we've been through this
yeah.
process like for
I'm
10 years, 12 years.
I'm taking a piss outside in the jungle. That's okay. Keep talking. I'm not going to show my dick or
Okay.
anything.
So it's that thing where I was already like having a bad week. Like I think I was in bed for like 2 or 3 days, like really sick. Like, and she's like, what do you think of the house? And I'm like, at first I'm just like, oh yeah, like I like it, but I didn't think we were gonna really go for it. And the difference is we had a Christian, I'm saying for us specifically, it was a Christian realtor that like led her Bible study. So we kind of trusted her and she was really good. And
Really good
like
at Bible study or really
realtor,
good
yeah,
at realtor.
both, both.
Mhm.
But so when I came, my wife came and looked at the house, and then I came the next day, and I told the agent, I'm like, I surrender. Like I'm tired of fighting this battle because I want to be rural. She wants to be in a more subdivision or a
Yeah.
newer house. But at this point, I was just like, I surrender. And there was an issue with the house. It's very nice, but they had like four dogs, and then I think the people were elderly, and the dogs like peed everywhere, all over the baseboards, all over the floors. So the house stunk. Like we're
Yeah.
basically gonna have to redo all the flooring, all the paint, and then once you start doing that, it's like, oh, you got to do the blinds. You basically all the fixtures. Like it just turns. So that during that time period, it added a lot of stress where I was already like kind of low, not dealing with stress very good.
Yeah.
And then now we throw in like the biggest purchase of your life, you know, in on it. And I do want to back up to one thing. So I
Okay.
did realize that I think I started talking about this earlier, where it's like I would say things like, "Oh, I just need a break. Like I just need to be like locked away, or like go camping." Like because my phone would start stressing me out, and then I would do it where I would text a lot, and then
Okay.
I get like I was helping my uncle with his restaurant, and he'd be like, "I need this menu, I need that, I need this by tomorrow," and then I get it from like all different directions, like with work, it'd be something like really complicated that nobody knows how to do, or like, and it would just like all this stuff would just overwhelm me. And I thought I was like, well, I've definitely lost my discipline, like being in the house and just kind of stuck in this routine where I'm not very active. So I started going to work with my. I took a few weeks off, like over the last like 6 months, and started going to work with my general contractor friend. And it's like when I'm out, we're going to job sites, we're going to Home Depot, we're going back. It's like I wasn't drinking. Like I might sneak a beer here and there, but I wasn't drinking out the numbers I was.
Wait, why
And it's
not?
like,
Oh, so
oh,
you
well,
did cut it down successfully with just by just kind of recognizing it, not.
yeah, but well, what I'm saying is it was eye opening because when I'm going up and down the stairs, or we're walking through all these stores, or I'm helping them, like I was having a goal. First of all, I was
Mhm.
out of my like normal just being stuck at home routine, and I noticed like doing physical labor, like oh, my appetite came back. Like so that like was a kind of eye opening of like, okay, like I really have become like, I don't know the words
It's not
currently. It
depleted,
was
but you're.
just kind of like lazy, like self discipline, like lacking self discipline, uh, basically lacking physical activity. You know,
Mhm.
so that helped. So what would happen is I would we end up getting the house, but everything was rushed. Like, okay, we're gonna get it in 3 weeks. That part's all stressful because you really don't find out if you get it until like the last week because of inspections and everything. Then add on like, okay, we're gonna do a remodel, all new flooring, but we won't need it done in like the next 2 weeks. Like what got done in like 2 or 3 weeks was out of this world. Like especially for our first time doing it.
Mhm.
Luckily, my cousin did the flooring. My general contracting friend like built a wall, did all the painting, did all the fixtures. But I was here during that time, and I like helped with the tile demo in the bathroom, not wearing a mask, so I got all this dust. I was around all the chemicals of the paint in and out of the house. And at that time, I'm drinking, but I'm like the middleman because all those big decisions, like if you're going to spend 25,000 on floors, it's like what color, what this.
Mhm.
So it kind of broke my brain in the sense of like had to go back to my cousin, then had to go back to Tammy, and then you go back to my cousin, and he's
But you're
like, oh,
doing
that
all
one's
this
that.
sober or mostly sober?
No, with beer, no,
Okay.
with beer,
Okay.
and he'd be like, oh, that one's not in stock. Can you pick a different one? Like so, but then it's like, oh, let me go back to Tammy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I want her to approve of it, because once you put it in, you're not
Yeah.
undoing it, And then they'd be like, "What color paint do you want, or what color, what baseboard do you want?" So it sounds stupid, and it could be managed a lot better after having this experience. It's like all these decisions, like, and the time frame of doing the remodel is like when I'm staying up later, not sleeping. That means I'm drinking more.
Uh-huh.
Like so it all like kind of like came to a head. Where
Yeah.
now Tammy and me are like stressing and fighting more or bickering, and then we had to move from the old house, and it was like everything was time crunch. We had to be out of there by one day. It was like raining and storming really bad. I got a big U-Haul. I couldn't sleep the night before. I didn't want to deal with it. Like I almost canceled everything. So now my family and my mom and everybody's over helping, and they see me drinking some beers, and they're like, "You're not driving the truck. You didn't have this pack." I'm like, "Mom, this last with the remodel, with the new house, with packing up the old one, it like all." So that would be like November. I think we got the keys on October 30th, and we were moving in by like November 20th, before Thanksgiving. And this is what was really stressing me out is like they were on top of everything. There'd be like, "Oh, you got to paint the stairs at night with the sealant to get rid of the smell, but you can't do it during the day because it has to dry." So I'm staying up super late to handle that stuff, and I'm around all
No
these
fumes. Yeah.
fumes, and so the next day my mom and my stepdad are over, and they're like, "You're acting crazy. You're like, you can't do anything," because they're like, "You need to fix the internet. You need to order that. You need to deal with this." I'm like, I can't deal with technology right now. That's the one thing. The first thing to go was like, because people would come over, they're like, I don't got service here," or you need we needed the internet for our work stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, and my mom would be like, "Well, once you set up this or order the new dishwasher," I'm like, I gotta go through Tammy for that. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's like a middleman thing where it's
Yeah.
like every decision involves, and then my flooring cousin and the general contractor is like, "Oh, so and so needs to hurry up with the flooring so I can do this. I'm going to be behind on that." And then my cousin would be like, "Well, Russ's stuff is in my way." So you're kind of like this middleman,
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? Like where it's like every decision's coming through me, but I need Tammy's approval, and then I need to go back and make sure it's possible with the contractor's schedule. you know.
Mhm.
So then my mom and them like really saw me drinking and like acting crazy. I'm like, Mom, it's all the stress. It's the drinking not helping. I haven't been sleeping properly. I haven't been eating properly. And so that really worried them. And actually, I got a surprise story for you. During all this, even my cousin, so during that move over the last 2 or 3 days, moving from the old house to this house,
In November.
I wasn't,
Oh.
yeah, I wasn't driving. Like they would be like, oh, can you go do this? And I'm like, no, I'm not have Vincent do it. So everybody's like getting mad at me, like, why aren't you driving? And I had to be at the house
Why weren't you driving?
to,
Because you're drinking or because you were?
well, like I was having anxiety,
Oh.
stress, and I was on a time frame where they're like, hey, I let you borrow those storage bins. Can you bring them back to my house? It's like, well, that's gonna take like an hour or two. I'm at the house trying to finish this. My mom just got here. She's helping me with this. Like I had my other friend drive the U-Haul truck because I didn't want to deal with it. So it's like everybody at this time is getting frustrated with me too. Like, oh, you should have packed better. Oh, why do I have to drive the U-Haul? Like, oh, why can't you just do the internet thing? When I'm like, well, can't you guys see? Like, I'm stressed and this, like, I'm overwhelmed. And they're like, well, it's because you're drinking. I'm like, yes, drinking is part of it, but the drinking got like all the blame, which is,
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not valid, but
yeah.
uh, so everything finally calmed down, and I asked my cousin to like take me up to the store to get some beer, like the day after Thanksgiving. Tammy had went to the Bay, and he's like, "I'm tired of driving around. You need to quit the alcohol, but I'll take you this last time." He takes me up there, and he's doing like I don't know, like he was speeding, and like paint buckets flew out of the back of his truck on Sierra College Boulevard. We were going across the street from Sierra College, our actual college, and I couldn't even turn around. I'm just like that's how stressed I like just worn out I was. I'm like, I trust my cousin. He's gonna run out in traffic and grab these buckets. I'm not even gonna turn around.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense. It's just like once I like got out of the house, I'm like mentally wore out. We go down to the store. I hop out and I go in to buy some kratom, and I can't find my wallet or phone. So I'm like, oh, when my cousin was speeding and stopped, like maybe it got lost in the car truck. I go out there and my phone's on the. He has a big raised truck. Like it's my phone's on the seat. I'm like, okay, but I can't find my wallet anywhere. So I'm like, hey man, can I borrow some money? I can't find my wallet. And he's like shaking his head. He's like, no, like fine, but this is ridiculous. Oh, and two sheriffs had pulled into the parking lot right behind him. And I'm like, as I'm getting out of the car, I'm like, oh, two sheriffs are behind you because I thought because he was speeding that
Yeah.
like maybe, you know. And I go he gives me the money, I go into the credit shop, and then I run over to the beer, the liquor store, buy a bunch of beer, and I come back and get in the car, the truck, and he lectures me. And he actually got a DUI like a year ago or in May and has a breathalyzer in his car. So he's really like he's quit drinking. He's like, oh, he was giving wise advice, like I didn't realize all the tension I was causing in my family.
Mhm.
Um, like I didn't realize like I drink when I get home, but I guess I would be emotional or like we get in fights, and he was kind of like blind to the alcohol thing. And so now being sober, he's looking at me being like, dude, this is pretty bad. And I'm
Yeah.
like, still being like, you don't understand. It's the house, it's the remodel, it's the move, it's the money and the drinking. And then it's not the not sleeping and the anxiety. So all the stuff was happening before, but now it's with the house, with the remodel, with the move. Even the neighbor drove by and he's like, be careful. It's like one of the top two reasons for divorce, like,
What is
you know,
drinking or buying a new house?
like a new house and remodel.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, buying a new house plus a
yeah.
remodel.
That causes the.
Uh,
That's what he said. That causes. Is that statistically true?
you can look it up, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It sounds
I'm
fun.
sure,
Yeah. No. It sounds
yeah,
reasonable.
sounds right. So, so, so that night, finally, everybody leaves. My mom left. Everybody, my cousin Tammy gets home from the Bay. We didn't have Thanksgiving dinner on that day. We had food prepared from my uncle's restaurant, so we finally sit down to eat dinner. Like I'm actually at that point I'm like pretty sober. Like it's like as soon as everybody left, I'm like, I feel good. It's just when my mom and everybody's over, it's like they're like, do this or do that, or why aren't you doing this? And then it's kind of just like everything's like boom, boom, boom. Like have you ever went to like the kitchen or you're doing something and a bunch of people around like, hey, grab that. And then as soon as they're like, oh yeah, yeah, like you got to pick that up. Like if you have like 10 different people telling you all at once, you're like, don't they all just hear that this person just asked me for that? So it like gets frustrating. Like stop, like like you guys messing with me, and they're like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't handle this, like
yeah,
you're because you're hammered. You're like,
yeah,
no, like because I would go to do something, like my mom would be like, I'm just using my mom as an example. She'd be like, can you find the remote or the keyboard to this? I'm helping you set up your computer. I'm like, I don't know what box it's in, and I go to the garage to start looking for it, and I come in and she asks me for something else, and then
yeah,
she like be like, where's the keyboard? I thought you were looking for the keyboard. I'm like, Otto just asked me for this, or Vincent just asked me for that. Like,
yeah.
like Tammy's calling me to ask me about the. So I think sober minded, it could
I
all
think
been
no, no,
handled
I
better.
definitely, yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced that sober, but I definitely know what you mean when yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Like, and people have said it's like, oh, and this is kind of true. Back to the spirituality is like your energy. Like, if I was confident, had it under control, and was
yeah,
responding appropriately, then my mom would have been calmer. Then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tammy would have been
Sure.
calmer. Then, so I actually take all the blame for that. But like in that moment, I'm like, can't these people are being like they're helping me, but they're being like
Yeah,
insensitive to.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, uh, so everything calmed down. We're about to have a family dinner. I don't know if I told you this. This gets kind of crazy. Like really, like peaceful. Like I get a phone call from a block number, and for some reason I looked at it. I'm like, oh, it's probably Joe. I'm not going to answer. 2, 3 minutes later, I get another call, and for some reason, I answer. And it's like, is this Christopher Adams? I'm like, yes. And it's like, oh, this is Rockland PD. I'm just giving you a call. We found your wallet at a Starbucks. And I like, first of all, it's you have to understand that day. Like, I didn't know where my wallet was. My mom had it because she was
yeah.
ordering stuff. I thought I had it. I thought it was in the truck.
And then you
So
forgot
it's
about it maybe being lost, so you weren't even stressed about it.
no, I just assumed it was at home that in a hurry because my cousin's like, hurry up, we got to go if you want
Yeah,
me to drive you to the store.
yeah.
So I just assumed it was at home. So I get that call and he's like, hey, can you come up here right now and pick it up? Because I don't want to check it into uh,
You could, yeah,
processing or something.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is like a trick. Like, I'm not going to drive drunk up there to get it, you
Oh,
know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I asked Tammy, and she was already really upset with me about some things, just what
Well,
had
yeah. I
happened.
mean, that's definitely something. Yeah, she wouldn't.
I'm like, can you drive me up to get the wallet? Which two ways she's worried that she's in shock that the wallet's lost and that all the credit cards
Yeah,
and debit cards might be affected. And then I'm also like, I don't want to drive up there. Can you drive me up there? And we have to take the kids. We
yeah.
can't leave the kids at home alone. And I kind of played it off to the cop. I'm like, oh, okay. Sorry, I just moved. Let me find a pin because he's like, write down this number. I'm like, we're about to have dinner. Can I head up there in about an hour? And he's like, oh yeah, no problem. I just get here within the next few hours because I don't want to have to check it in. I'm like, well, is anything dang, what do I do? Do I have to call my credit card companies? And he said something that's like, oh, I don't think you have to worry about that. I think the person that turned in was like pretty honest or something. And it just you just hear it and you're just like, okay. Like not saying 100% believed it, but just his confirmation of like,
Yeah.
okay, like, but I'm also thinking I didn't go to Starbucks. There is a
Oh,
Starbucks in that parking lot across from Sierra College. That parking lot I was in.
okay. So it flew out of the car. It was in the back. It wasn't
Well,
in. Oh, we don't. Okay.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some you might be able to poke some holes in the story because it's still a mystery.
Okay. Well,
But
yeah, no.
so Tammy's like, well, no, what are you gonna do if I don't take you up there? I'm like, I'll ride my bike, I'll walk. Like I was kind of being like, what do you mean you're not gonna take me up
How
there?
far? Because your place is in Folsom. This is in Rockland.
No,
Your new house is
I'm on
Folsom,
Sierra
right?
College. I'm on Sierra College.
Oh, I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, do you know where Douglas is?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm basically, say Douglas to Rockland Road where Sierra College is.
Okay.
I'm like halfway in between both.
All right.
So it's still like very far. Like,
Yeah.
so in the Rockland Police Department is over where you used to live in those apartments. Remember with Aiko and who was
Shaliko,
that
or
friend?
not Shaliko,
Oh,
but
Asana.
I mean but yeah, by Sierra College, but Rockland
No,
Manor.
the Rockland, but it
Rockland
was
Manor. I mean, that's close to Sierra College, walking distance from.
no, it was more towards Old Rockland.
Oh, that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, those ones. Oh, those ones. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. But okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So now they put a police station right basically on that road.
Okay.
So, anyways, my Tammy takes me up there. I get out, like the kids want to go see. Oh, I didn't tell you this other part.
Yeah.
What also scared everybody was Tammy was really stressed and the kids, and like everybody was having a breakdown. And to like take some deflect from that, I went and sat and like sat down and started drawing all over myself, like with a marker. And I was telling the kids because everybody's like crying, like Tammy's crying, the kids are crying. I'm like, oh, just I'm exhausted. I'm like, just right on my arm. And that remember how I said I stayed up the night before? I didn't stay up the whole night, but I had to paint the floor so that my cousin could
Here.
finish.
Oh, yeah.
I started painting the steps, and I didn't have shoes, and I realized I painted myself into a corner, so I walked barefoot through it all, and it was so slippery that I was standing. It's basically like it's called kills. It's like a sealant that we were trying to trap the odor with before we put the floor down. And so I'm stuck in the middle of the night, like crawling to my bathroom with like on my knees because there's paint all over my feet and I can't get paint all over the new flooring. So now I got paint all up my leg, on my like feet, which the cop couldn't see, paint on my arm, hands, and I got like writing all over my arms, like tattoos, like marker.
Yeah.
Like I just look like a mess, you know. But I like went in there, like talked to the cop. He came out and he handed me the wallet. I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm just going through a
Wait, Tammy
remodel. And
did drive you.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just going through a remodel. I didn't know where I put my wallet. He's like, no problem. I'm like, so I should call the credit card company? He's like, no, I think you're good. And you're like, okay.
Well, how does
He's
he
like, just
know
check
what credit
online.
cards you have? And yeah.
Oh, he said something weird. He's like, no, I looked in it. It looks like everything's there,
Yeah.
which
How?
it didn't register. It didn't register. So I get home, but here's a perfect example of how stuff kept happening. Where if that didn't happen, I would have just ate and had a calm night. Maybe took a shower, cleaned up, and like maybe the next day would have been better. You know.
Yeah.
So this thing added a whole new thing. So I get home and kind of spinning out. I'm like, did my mom like give it, or did my actually? Here's what I thought: did my cousin run drive my wallet over to the cops and say, "Hey, I'm just looking out for my cousin." You know, like you start thinking this because I'm already tired. I'm already
Yeah.
exhausted. It's like, how did the cops get it? How
So,
did it end up at Starbucks? And how is the cop saying that? I think everything's good. I think,
okay. Oh, you.
um, you know, your brain just starts thinking like,
Yeah.
huh, something's off there. Like either I'm that messed up or because I didn't, you know what I mean. But so the next day I call my oh, that what's weird is right after the cop called, my sister called. She's like, "How you doing? What's going on?" I'm like, "Good, just about to eat dinner." Like I was pretty like sober, calm, but it's just weird that she called instantly. Like, "How you doing? Just calling to check on you."
Yeah.
So the next day I like talked to my mom. I'm like, "Hey, I don't want to." The cops called. Like I was laughing about it. Like you won't believe what happened. Like my a lot it dropped my because I also could have. I was thinking when I got out of my
Was there
cousin's big
money in there
truck,
too, and money not taken?
I didn't have cash. It was all cards.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, oh, when I got out of my cousin's truck, maybe it fell underneath. That's how I thought, like
Yeah.
rationally. I'm like, okay, it could be that. And I told my mom, she's like,
But you weren't in the Starbucks.
she's like Vincent. I was like, I don't want to get mad at Vincent, but like, did he give the my wallet to the cops? To and she's like, no, I did it. I'm like, what? And then I didn't even press her. I'm just like,
Wait, your
okay.
mom or your sister? Who?
My mom took the blame for it.
Oh, but you don't believe it.
No, I kind of do, but it still could have been my cousin.
Okay, but somebody did it, and she if she took the blame, right? Somebody did it, and what was their purpose behind doing that?
I don't know. I never asked. I just took it as like a big lesson because they were so worried. Like, but what's ironic about it is if they took my license and I had to drive up there, it's like they didn't really think that one through because if I was really drunk, then I'd have to drive to go get my wallet.
Yeah,
But I almost took it as like they thought maybe Tammy wouldn't take me, and it would be like maybe it'll get rid of my wallet for a day or two, so I can't buy alcohol, and be like a wake up call, like I need to sober up. Like
yeah.
if you think about it, in the right, it is kind of a loving, like nice way, like to like send a
I remember
message.
leaving my bike out in the front yard, and my brother hid it to make me think it was stolen. I don't know. I mean, yeah, those type of things like to, but it's kind of weird. I mean, they're just trying to show you that you have a problem or something but
Yeah,
you're
like
doing
maybe
something
like
you're not
take my
responsible.
financial access to the alcohol, you know.
Yeah. So, we got to get to the bottom of that. And so you think your cousin actually knew when he was driving you that you wouldn't have
Yeah,
your,
but you know that kind of goes through your head. Like, did he set that up? Because the I don't know. I
yeah,
don't know. This is where things started getting like when I was saying like fuzzy or weird stuff started happening. Like
yeah,
him speeding down the road, the buckets flying out, like me running into the store, the cops pulling up, me
yeah,
getting home, the cop calling. Like, you get what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
Like it's like I was cognitive and like it was a mixture of tired, exhausted, and drinking. You know, where you're like, it's like when you're exhausted, but you're still trying to like just get the stuff done. Like okay, we gotta accomplish this, we gotta accomplish that. Um, so so then Tammy and me had to talk, like get through the whole early into December, and we're still like there was something else that happened where we put okay, this is all gonna add up. We put hardwood floor all through the house, but when you talk, everything echoes. So when the girls cry or they yell, like if you're upstairs or downstairs, it's like it was hurting my ears, like just like, and it was adding that like tension, like come on, like please quit yelling, like it's really hurting my ears, like. And then like I would get mad, like stop, and they're like you're the one yelling, and it's
yeah,
like so that goes back into that energy thing. Like if I was calmer,
yeah,
but ever since Thanksgiving, I was having bloody boogers, like bloody snot, like you blow out like thick red blood, like my nose was bleeding, like I felt like my brain was bleeding.
yeah,
So on top of that, I was having all that happen, and then people are like, "You're drinking this and that." I'm like, "No, I'm sick." Like I think because of all the dust from the tile demo with no mask, being
yeah,
around all the paint, having all that paint absorbed through my feet,
yeah.
like so for all the way until, and then I got a cold, like yellow boogers. I got pictures of all this. I know you don't want to see,
I'm
but
all
like,
right, but I trust you. I
but
believe.
uh, but so it's like all the way until like December 18th, I went to the doctor and like opened up to him about my drinking and about everything, and he prescribed like alcohol blockers and all this stuff, and like and what's it called, antidepressants and stuff. But I filled the prescription, but I never was planning on taking them. But
Yeah.
I just wanted. Oh, and he gave me antibiotics. That's actually
Ooh.
why I went to the because when I wasn't getting better, I'm like there has to be an infection because I have like this yellow with blood, like bloody boogers, like you know,
Yeah. That's your body fighting the infection or the
yeah.
remnants of it.
But then what happens is when you blow your nose and sneeze, it felt like it was reopening up that
Oh, if there's like a
like
wound
a
open.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And to be clear, like I wasn't doing any drugs during this time. I haven't put anything up my
Snorting.
nose in years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So so and I'm still drinking beer during all this time.
Okay. That's December 18th.
Then
Now we're getting close to the,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's around that time, December 16th, like around that time, I went to the doctor, I got the antibiotics, I started feeling better. They gave me a nasal spray. Oh, my phone might die. I get the charger. But let me get to this.
But get the
There was
charger.
actually
The charger. Get the charger.
yeah, there was actually this other funny thing that happened where that realtor, like her present to us was giving us getting us cleaners. And I remember like this was during the remodel or right after we moved into the house, where my wife's like, "Oh, the cleaners are gonna come here at 7 a.m." And I think I went to bed at like 1. I wake up to the Spanish cleaners in my room with like the sun. It's all beautiful with them talking and like making the bed next to me. And like
Spanish
I'm
or
in
Spanish
boxers,
speaking?
Spanish, yeah.
Oh, they're
But they're
Spanish.
like kind of like giggling and like cleaning. And it's one of those things where I was sleeping good and it's like this is beautiful. Like just where I'm blessed. But it's like I finally fell asleep, like sleeping good, and it's like I gotta get up and like go downstairs or like, kind of get out of their way.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to all this. And then another thing that I was handling, our solar wasn't working, and a guy named Jesus showed up to fix the solar or to fix how it reads the solar. And he's wearing a Kingdom solar shirt. I'm like, oh, is this a Christian company? Because Kingdom, a lot of Christian companies put Kingdom in it, like God's Kingdom, but or like Kingdom Fences, or you know.
And
And the guy
name
Jesus
like
is like,
Jesus sounds
yeah,
yeah. Jesus.
yeah, yeah. And the guy's like, no, like the worker said that.
Yeah.
Then we move all this stuff in the garage, and he's like, oh, you don't have the right adapter box. I got to come back, or you got to order it yourself. And we were paying him like $800 to come fix it. So I end up calling the company for like a week saying, hey, I got the boxes. Somehow the owner ended up calling me, and he's a Christian who used to like be a gangbanger, like do drugs. And he was, because I asked him about the Kingdom Solar. He's like, oh, I'm glad you noticed. He was like praying for me and my family. Like we had like an hour or two talk. He helped me solve that problem. Then
Wait,
fast
he's worried
forward,
about it. I mean, he knew that you were going to run into that problem. It didn't say anything. I mean, that sounds fishy. I mean,
what?
you didn't have the right equipment for your solar, and he was
Oh,
worried about it. He knew that you would need it.
okay.
I was like,
This is actually a good little veer off because this kind of sums up like kind of what was happening. It's like you never deal with solar or deal with this stuff. You think when you buy the house it would get transferred to you,
mhm.
and you call the solar company or the energy company, uh, and they're like, "Oh no, you have to do. It's still in the old owner's name. You have to do a transfer." So they came out there, and for them to double check it on their end, it has to be hooked up to the internet. Well, when they came out here, there was none of the boxes that connect to the internet. And they're like, where are they? And I'm like, honestly, we just did a remodel. We just did all this stuff. If there were boxes here, I have no idea. Like, so it becomes a mystery. Like, I didn't see them. And they're like, well, this means it hasn't been hooked up for years. I'm like, I don't know. It just moved in. So when I kept calling, that worker had said that he offered to install them, but I said no, which isn't true because when he came out here, I wanted him to go to the store and buy them or have them in his truck to install those boxes so he can set it up. So somehow the owner called me back, and we ended up having like this like beautiful like discussion about Christianity, and he was reading Bible verses to me, like kind of preaching like in a beautiful way, like he really knows the Bible, and he told me his testimony about how he changed his life and has a family and runs 3 businesses, um, and he said he's only called 2 people back in the last 2 years, and I'm one of them. And the other person was a guy he used to be best friends with that committed suicide, and he ended up just talking to his brother or figuring it out, and gave his brother like a lot of encouragement that his brother's in a good place, and like it was just like kind of a closure thing for the brother and for him, like. Uh, but so fast forward, Wednesday the 20th, Tammy ordered the cleaners again, and this time because they had been over before, and
Why?
this
Did
time I
they
was just
finish
going to
the
stay.
job, or they needed another
Well,
day?
with the remodel and the cleaning and the moving, like Tammy just wanted things deep cleaned again because there's so many people in and out.
Yeah.
So this time I would like go in the garage, and I started just drinking, I guess you could say, because I'm in the garage, and then I called the Kingdom Solar guy about something, and then we start talking for like 2 or 3 hours,
You and the
and
Kingdom Soul
then
guy?
yeah,
Jesus?
again,
Oh,
no, sorry,
oh,
Jesus was the worker who
oh,
came.
okay. Okay.
The head guy is who I talked to
Yeah.
on the phone. So we're having a beautiful talk, and I kind of told him about like the alcohol, and he's like, yeah, like like it's okay to drink a little bit of wine, but yeah, you definitely, at your own time, you can address it. That day we also got couches. This is what I'm saying. Like Tammy's like, oh, the couches are getting delivered, which means you have to move stuff. Like, okay, where do you want the couches? It's all like blessed stuff. Like it's just it's just everyday like stuff would pop up. Oh, the cleaners are coming. Oh, the couches. Like the window guys come in. Like, oh,
Blessed?
can you call the
Blessed
solar
stuff?
guy?
Why is that blessed?
No, I'm saying this is all like good problems. I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
saying
yeah,
like
okay, yeah, 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 yeah,
when, I,
yeah.
when I'm sick, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
bleeding.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm,
First
I'm,
world
I'm already
problem.
having
Yeah.
issues with like
Oh
stress and
yeah, no.
feeling
I
overwhelmed.
mean, it's funny hearing all this stuff. Yeah, this is American, definitely
Oh
American
yeah.
first world problem stuff.
So to back up, like Tammy had thought like she was gonna send me to a rehab center like a week or two
Yeah,
before, and I was like, let's just get through the holidays. Like my grandma's coming from Kansas, she's sick. We got the new house. Like I really had this in my mind. Like we just got through the hardest part. Like things are calming down right now. We're about to go into the Christmas week. Like we finally made it. Like we just got the couches. We just got the house clean. I just solved the solar thing. Like so during this time, I'm still checking off like big accomplishments in my mind. You know, and we get in a kind of fight or argument, and she's just like, "That's it. I'm going to take you to the center tonight. The nanny's coming
drunk
over
at that
to
time. Is
watch
that
the
why, or what? Why,
huh?
or what? That was like there's a final straw
Like
type thing.
yeah, yeah. Like so the week before, I guess she had already talked to the director of that
Oh,
center,
yeah,
and I guess she had a really tough day, like crying, like thinking, like, oh, like, well, like. So then I think this like a week later when like we were back in that same cycle again.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She's like, you gotta do something, and I actually was like very like happy about it. Like I was buzzed, but I'm like, yes, like this will be good. Like she's like, I packed your stuff. Like the nanny's coming over to watch the kids. I'm gonna drive you down there. And in my head, I'm just thinking, okay, I'll go there for a few days, really like clear my head. Maybe I'll be back by Christmas.
yeah,
Because my whole thing was like, I just need to be in like a little bubble to see how I feel, like a safe area where like if I feel horrible the one day, like I'll be around people that know how to deal with that. Um, but I still was nervous about it. So like I was calling my mom, being like, okay, like I'm gonna do like I'm going to this life changing center, like and like I'm telling Donnie, like, hey, can you help Tammy out? Like I'm making these calls, but I'm like kind of happy.
yeah.
Uh, and I guess you can describe some of this as kind of like manic, like like over this last month with the pain, with the bleeding on the nose, with the not sleeping, with the
Yeah,
properly, with not eating 100% properly. It's like I'm like my emotion like high and low, where you're like
yeah, yeah,
uh, like kind of laughing on the phone, like, hey, I'm gonna be gone, like.
yeah.
But in my mind, I only thought like 3 or 4 days. So we go to this. They drop me off. It's in North Highlands, and they take me to the room, and I've met the director before. It's our nanny's brother, but this was a lot more serious. He's like, okay, like fill out this paperwork. Do you have any criminal history? I'm like, no. He's like, do you what are you on drugs? Or I'm like, no, I just drink beer and take some nicotine pouches. And he's like, okay, do you have anything on you? And then like my pocket had a bunch of nicotine
They took those away.
pouches. And yeah, they're like, throw those in the thing. They're like, can you, sorry, we need you to get naked, like, and change to new clothes. Which at the time I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. But
It feels like you're
after
getting
being there, it's
arrested.
like,
I mean, you've been arrested before for those type of things? No.
no, I've never been, I've never got a DUI, never been arrested,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no drugs, no,
Sounds like one of those
like,
situations. Yeah.
but so I signed this paperwork and everything, and I get to the room, and the guy's yeah, it gets, sorry, this story, because it's like one of the guys, one of the leaders there, I just bought a Christmas tree from him like a week or two before. So I'm like kind of like in this like happy state, like, oh hey, how's it going? Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Like, and there's like 10 other, they call them brothers, or the people in the center who are going through it, you know?
Okay. That wait, the other people like you or people that are running it
Yeah.
for you?
Oh,
Okay.
like me.
Okay. Oh, so you knew one of them
I
that
knew
you,
one of the leaders.
oh, you,
Yeah.
okay. 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 So you feel like,
Like,
I
sorry,
mean,
I
those
sorry.
are people, those are like mutual people but now you're almost in a, I mean, they're just friends. You talk to them like an equal, but now you kind of, you're in this other dynamic, right? I mean, this other, now you are like,
Yeah.
I mean, that,
So,
but you don't
so
feel
there's
like
the,
that yet. At this
yeah,
point, you
so
kind
there's,
of, hey, what's up, buddy? But you know,
yeah. Yeah.
okay.
So there's like the director,
Mhm.
and then there's leaders who are people who graduated the program like a year or two ago, and then they go to they, if they stay and serve, they go to the
Okay.
leadership side.
Okay.
So when I got there, they came in and they do a Bible, like right away, like you get there, they show you a room. It's like basically a house, you know, with like bunk beds in each room and stuff. And they're like, okay, we're gonna do nightly prayer, uh, stuff. So, but the next day or two, like you start talking to the guys, and they're like, oh, they're like, why are you here? I'm like, oh, just drinking beer and stuff. And they're like, I was like, yeah, I'll probably do a few days and like get back before Christmas. And they're like, oh, this is a 1, 2, 3 month program, like 6 month program to graduate. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's a 30-day blackout, no phone calls, no anything. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'll leave in a few days. Like, the
The
well, sorry,
TV
guys,
obviously
if that's
knows this, but you didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah. So the first day, like you wake up and it kind of all hits you. Like I've never been arrested, but it kind of hits you like, oh my gosh, this got serious. Like I'm at this place, it's obviously because of my drinking and anxiety. Like there's a lot, like, the
Huh.
circumstances.
Yeah. But yeah.
It, but you kind of feel that like guilt and that like, and then you're like, there's no alcohol, there's no like nicotine, no creature comforts, there's no
Yeah.
TV, no phone, no anything, and this is pretty cool. The first week or first few days, they give you grace period, so you don't have to follow all the rules, like get up on time or
Okay.
uh, like at Bible study, like you don't have to do your homework, or
But they
it's kind
did.
of like trial by fire. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I mean. Like I didn't know what the program was even about.
Yeah.
I'm looking
They
at my
told you
charger.
though, they give you the rules and say these are the rules you'll be following, but we're gonna give you a grace period, or
Well, this is what's
they didn't even let you know what
no.
was this to
Well,
come,
what's funny about it is in that paperwork,
what you
I just
signed.
skimmed through it
Yeah.
and just signed. I didn't
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then, like the next day, I'm in my room reading through. I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah.
um, Let me get my charger. Hold on. Can't talk too loud because the kids are asleep. Sorry, I can't find my thing. Darn it. Hold on a second. Sorry. Found the cord, but I can't find the box to plug it into.
Okay, I'm gonna push pause and go.
Okay.
Oh, you're in? You're gone. Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, you could edit that out maybe.
that's fine. Yeah. So
Hold
here
on.
we are.
Okay, so
You're in there. You're now it's setting in. You're there. You woke up.
yeah,
You read the. So I mean, you were. Sounds like you were pretty buzzed when you went in, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, I left it out. I did chug like I poured a bunch of vodka into water, and once I was leaving, I was like I chugged the water because
Tammy knew you did that or no, or didn't care,
no,
or almost. Did she almost wait? You think she had this set up like okay, she was just waiting for the time when you were vulnerable and
yeah,
to get you basically like if you
yeah,
had been just like if you were only a little tipsy you might have not you were a little taken advantage of like set up
yeah,
or
yeah,
I mean
yeah. No, I did have those feelings. I mean, so there's you bring up a good point. So just like I had talked about earlier, how I prayed to get off the Suboxone, I also was praying like, please help me get off the alcohol or stop drinking beer without getting a DUI, without getting divorced, without doing something like I didn't want to have to get in trouble to like have it set in, you know? Like, does that make sense? Like, I didn't want like to lose a job or like. Um, so like part of me, like my soul was like, oh, this is good. Like
yeah yeah
we're, um, but so after a day or two, like the first day, I was kind of shaky. Oh, here's the other thing that happened is like I get put in a room with this guy, and he's really cool. He was like he like very very like, hey, why are you here? Like we'd have talks at night. He's like, oh yeah, like just um trying to think of the first talks we had. It was just like very encouraging. They just take the time. Your family needs you. Just take this time to deal with it.
he's
Um,
also in the same boat as you he's not
yeah,
Peter
yeah,
he's a so he's
yeah. So
who's he to tell you I mean he's right and I mean he's saying he's also must be saying that to himself he obviously did I mean, he's in the
yes.
same position as you. He's not like he's higher than like he has some sort of
Oh no,
wisdom over your situation.
no. I think this is what happens though. Is he had went there last year for like 6 months and graduated.
Oh, oh,
Then he went back
yeah.
home because I
Okay.
know the story now. He went
Okay.
back home and he has 4 kids. I think he was fighting with his wife and everything, and just they kind of separated. And then he went to live with a buddy and just he kind of did like that thing where he just went right back to the alcohol, like
Yeah,
just
yeah. Oh, yeah.
worse
Yeah, yeah,
though
yeah.
this time,
Oh,
the
you
second time.
start off where you would have be if you never
Yeah,
stopped. Yeah, 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 absolutely.
yeah. So he had a lot of like wisdom, and he had already been there again for 2 months. So it's almost like if
Oh, so he
like
does.
somebody's breaking down, like, oh, this is how the house works, this is the
Yeah,
rules,
that's
like,
good.
but also like giving the encouragement of like and this a lot of this ties into the Bible actually, which I'll tie into is I'd have to find that, but here's the problem is like that first night it's like you're not sleeping, like you lay down and then you open your eyes and it's like only 5 minutes went off the clock, and then you think you fell asleep and it's like 20 minutes went off the clock, so you're like tossing and turning and like, and then he had the window kind of open, and it's like at like 5 a.m. there's like dogs barking, like 10 dogs, like so it's like like stuff like that where it's just like the
It's a
next
regular
day.
house, but it's like a compound. I mean, you wouldn't be able to
Yeah, compound, yeah.
get out of there's walls or
Well,
what?
I mean they so here's what they say is you can leave at any time. We're not going to hold you against your will. and
But
and I was in kind of a blessed situation, like because of our nanny's brother, because of like our nanny, like I wasn't just going to some random place, like even though I didn't know any of the details,
yeah.
like I felt like in a safe, trusted
Yeah, 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 yeah,
place.
yeah.
Yeah,
And Tammy, Tammy set it up, so
yeah,
she's over. I think she's gonna look into all these details probably. She knows. You kind of trust her.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you trust
Oh yeah.
you're there. The
So
people that
when I got out of the car, she's like, "Oh, can I get your wallet and your phone because I need to call the Kingdom Solar guy and I need I was just like, yeah, you can take it, you know, which that plays a factor later because
They wouldn't let you have your phone there anyway, right? That's
yeah, it would have to go in the safe. So the next day or two, you know, I'm kind of getting in the groove of things, like and you know, they do a Bible, they do Proverbs in the morning, like 6:45. Then they reading, then they do a Bible study from like 8 to 9, or like they bring in a special person to give the lesson, or one of the leaders comes in with like the lesson, which is just sitting around and we can go through, like they'll go through different scriptures and go deeper, like delve into it, and then ask us what we think. And it's really good because it taught me how to like flip through the Bible, you know, like all this I learned a lot, you know. And and then they do a breakfast, you know, and then after that you do like work hours like around the property. Like they have a banya, which is like a steam room where you clean that, you clean up the fire pit. They have chickens and goats at the back of the property. You go feed them. You can chop wood. Um, you can be like the house minister who cleans like the house or the bathrooms. So it's kind of, it's like orderly. You know, at 12 you have lunch,
Mhm.
and then you go back to work. You know, and some of that's just walking around talking, like trying to look busy. You know, like um, and talking to the guys and stuff. So the good thing is like there's a lot of camaraderie. Like people are telling you their stories, and
Yeah.
um, uh, you know, and here's what I was gonna say is it's kind of cool. There was a mixture. There ends up being two Spanish guys or Mexican guys, like 4 or 5 Slavic or like Ukrainian Russian guys, um, like two older guys, like a good mix. But like when you're new, you like and you don't feel good. You're like not like 100% chatty, you know. But over time, you kind of like they tell you their stories, or
Yeah, yeah.
you kind of hear. Um, and so I became friends with, and there was this black guy who was like, "Man, this program, like I don't know, I liked it better in jail. You get tablets, you can hang out, you get like food, you got TV. Because here, there's no. This is actually what I think is most important about the whole thing. Besides, like really focus having the bubble to focus on the Bible to really delve into it. So we go to church like 3 nights a week. We'd give testimonies, which I didn't do because you have to be over 30 days to like get up and give a testimony. Um, they kind of teach you like you gotta like prepare. Like if you're in the kitchen the day before that morning, you have to give a little lesson. Like you can just read a verse and like give a little lesson in the morning. So
Mhm.
um, sorry, I'm just trying to skip through like some of the stuff where it's like they have a lot of rules though, like oh like 10, 20, 30 minutes after meal you have to clean up, you have to be done. um you know, no food in the rooms, like if you get caught, like no, there's cameras in the house too, like not in the rooms, but there's cameras on the property. So like if you're not seated before Bible study or Proverbs or nightly prayer, or it's like you can get dishes. You know, it's a lot of dishes if
Where
we
are
got three
the
meals.
Oh yeah. Where are the leaders at? They're living there too, or they're off site?
Yeah. So it's basically like a duplex with like a industrial kitchen in the middle.
Okay.
So the leaders are just next door.
Okay.
And you know, and here's the big thing about it is there's supposed to be no past life talk. You know, so if you get together and you're like, oh, I used to do crystal. Like I'm talking what they would say.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, oh, I used to sell drugs, or I was in prison. Like
You're not
no
supposed
glorifying, no glorifying like past
Oh no,
stuff
glorifying,
because
but you can talk about your life.
no, sorry,
You're not even supposed to talk
you're not
about
supposed to talk about it because you could trigger somebody if you're like, oh, I used to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember I was getting drunk and then oh this happened. You know, somebody's done with alcohol, but it's kind of a gray area where like you still everybody still kind of talks about it.
Yeah, you can't that's a difficult yeah. And how far I
And
mean, where do you draw the
yeah,
line?
yeah, and everybody's at different levels. Like some people are there where they're just in the corner reading the Bible in their free time. You know, like some guys are just joking around. Um, and here's an important thing: most of the people either realize they need to be there or want to be there. But you know, when you're stuck somewhere, you kind of like people start like nagging each other, or
Yeah.
people are in bad mood, or they miss their family, or um, so that was kind of like I think I like to joke around and act immature, but like if the leaders, like I respected them, like where some people would be like, oh, that leader's, oh, I don't like how they talk to me, or this rule's stupid, or I'm gonna
Yeah.
go tell on so and so for bringing the food in, or it's like I kind of just kept out of the way, like
But others didn't. Others were on that mode.
yeah, there was like half and half, like most of the, yeah, it's I'll get back to that if I think of a story, but
Okay.
like say a guy gets in trouble, and like probation they would call is like you can't talk to anybody, you don't get any free time, and you have to do like twice as much homework. So it's like you want to give the guy a high five or whatever, and then he's like people are like, oh, you're gonna get a probation for if you talk to him, or like you try to give him a high five. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
it gets a lot like we're like kind of like everybody's like kind of keeping each other in check, like because the whole room, if your room's dirty or you have food in there, the whole room will get
Okay.
dishes, so it's kind of like there's a lot of cool people who are just like, hey, just don't do that, or hey, you got to get your coffee cup in there back by like 30 minutes or we're all going to get in trouble, or like uh, so this all makes sense. So let me back up. Is after 2 days, like people were telling me like they're not going to let you leave. I'm like, no, I can leave. I just got like they're like, we getting a phone call, and I'm like, no, I just came here for a few days. Like I'm feeling better after the third day. It's like the 24th, Christmas Eve. Like I want to go home and be with my family. So I go talk to the leaders. They're like, what if your wife doesn't want you back right now, and she wants you to stay longer? And it's like, and I'm stressing about work.
Oh, and
Because
so I mean that's hypothetical, or that's they're saying that's what's
no,
up.
yeah, and I go talk to them, and they're like, no, you need to stay, brother. You're not going to solve your problems in 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like I was kind of pushing back and venting, but at the same time, like I kind of knew they're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had this thing hanging over me where it's like our first Christmas in the new house. We worked so hard to get to this point, the remodel, everything.
They're
My
telling you what if she doesn't want you back is basically telling you, hey, like she like if she wants you back, she'd be
yeah, or yeah, like
come back. Or
yeah,
I mean, you kind of
yeah,
think
like
like this is what I mean, because you said they would let you go, but like if you went out there and they let you go, and you would have felt like,
well,
whoa, 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 what are you doing here?
well,
No, 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 you get your ass back.
yeah. Well, here's the thing though, is technically I could have went and asked for my stuff and been like, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
But the only phone I didn't like, so most people they have their phone checked into the safe.
yeah.
So I could have packed my bags and went out there and have no wallet and no phone.
Walk your ass from North Highlands back home.
Yeah. And then here's the other funny thing is the only number I truly remember is Tammy's. So like even at, like I wanted to call my mom, but I was like, I don't know her number. I want to call my sister, but I don't know her number. Like I know Joe's number, I know like Donnie's. Like I could have, but if you don't, it's not like I'm at a payphone where I can just or like
I know
borrowing
your
somebody's
number.
phone where I can.
I know your old number, 349. No,
Are you,
is that it? Is that still your
are you
number?
allowed to put? Are you allowed to put
Is
that
that
on a
still your
podcast?
number?
Yeah. Are you?
Oh shit! Oh, I didn't know. Oh shit! I don't know. Wow, wow! I don't know why that even popped in my head. I remember numbers for some reason. Wow, you and Jake Edward. I know
Okay.
Jake's
Well,
number.
mark that spot because I don't know if you need to take that out.
Okay. All right.
Well, I don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know Jake's number too. That's funny. Well, you've had that number a long time. That's 2 decades at least, maybe
Yeah.
more.
So this let me think here. So
So you
so on
did
Christmas
never
on
thought.
Christmas Eve, I on
But I
Christmas
mean,
Eve,
even if you did have your mom or sister, you're gonna go out and call your mom or sister over Tammy anyway.
no,
I
no,
mean,
I'm just saying like when you really think about it, it's like I kind of was stuck.
yeah. You're
You know
afraid
what
to
I mean?
call
Like,
her? You wouldn't go out if you did get out of there, Tammy wouldn't be the first person
oh,
to call?
sorry. Let me back up. So
Okay.
I would say this is just going through my head.
Yeah.
So I would go talk to like the leaders, and they're like, "Come over here. We'll let you call your wife." So they let me call her, and she was like being strong. She's like, "No, you need to stay. Like, we got the holidays handled. Like I told your mom, everybody's supportive. Um, everybody's supportive." And like, I'm just like, it still was like hard to wrap my head around. It's like, no, I'll come back in a few days. I just want to be there during Christmas, like at minimum. Well, like, at that point, I'm like, I'm not gonna drink again. Like, I learned my lesson. Like, this is like 4 days after. Like, I'm feeling good. Like, I didn't know how long it was gonna take to like have my cognitive brain like feel good. Like, I think after 3 days, I was like working out, like, like eating 3 meals a day, like sleeping good. Like, but I was stressed, like really stressed about like missing the holidays, and like all my family. My sister just had a baby, so I'm like an uncle. Like, I'm missing the baby was like a month old, so it's like a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
And so I call her, and like they're next to me, and she's like, "It's good." I'm like, "How's work?"
Wait,
And
you
the guy
call?
had
Oh,
like,
you get one phone call.
no, they basically, I don't know if it's like an exception, but I think because I was like pretty set on leaving,
Oh,
they're
they
like,
wanted to. You talked to her to tell you
yeah,
basically if she wanted you there, you were. I mean, you wouldn't go against Tammy at this point if she's telling you she
well,
wants you.
yeah, yeah, because she
Yeah,
answered, she's
that's
like,
make it
she's
awkward.
like, I want you to, stay longer. I got the holidays handled. Like people are helping us out. Like, I got the kids. Like, I handled work stuff. They're totally understanding. Which work has been great. Like, with all this.
Mhm.
Um, so that like made me feel better. And she's like, "And you're gonna get to see us tonight." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You guys are coming caroling at our house." So let me back up. This is
Oh,
what gets kind of exciting. Is like, they don't really tell you anything, and then on Friday, that Friday before, like 2 days before that, they're like, "Oh, we're going to the church. We're practicing caroling." So we're like singing all these songs. And so when she's like, "Oh, you guys are stopping by the house to carol," you could say hi to the girls and stuff. So that kind of like pet me up. Like, okay, at least I'll get to see the girls. Say hi to my grandma.
yeah. And
And
well, that's a deep rabbit hole, but it's interesting.
yeah,
I mean, kids, they're smart, and your kids especially are smart. They know what's going on some level, maybe even deeper than you'd expect them to know. I
yeah,
mean, you're obviously not telling them, but they know what's up. I mean, give me a little bit of that dynamic when you saw them. Like,
yeah.
do you feel
Well,
guilty, or do they feel like
well,
they're proud of you, or do you feel like they're disappointed in you?
okay. Well,
What kind of
so you ask a good
that's important.
question.
That's a big.
So that's actually a good question. So after that, I'm like I still was pretty upset. Like kind of like, oh, Tammy wants me to stay. Like, I don't feel good about it, but I do like it gave me peace of mind knowing that the work thing was kind of handled, that she's doing good, like we're doing as good as she put on the front, like everything's handled. So I go back to our side of the house. I'm getting ready, getting dressed, and the director comes in and is like, "Everybody, get ready. We're
You were
going."
getting dressed for what at that point? That's right after you got off the phone call, or this is before
Yeah,
Friday
to,
when you're going out.
right after the phone,
Okay.
get ready for the choir stuff. Basically, we
Fire
drive around to
practice,
like
or
10.
that was then. Oh, she said, oh, that was Friday night when you talked.
No, sorry. Friday night we practiced the choir singing. They told us we're gonna go to like 10 or 15 houses and sing these songs,
Yeah.
you know. So
You
then
go to
Tammy,
everybody's,
so
but you didn't know whose house,
no, yeah.
and it
So
was
then Tammy,
everybody's house, or it
well,
wasn't.
I guess people through the church
Okay.
who ordered or requested.
Okay, and probably anybody in that, if one of those people's families wanted you to, they would have put that on the list probably, or
Yeah,
you had special treatment because
yeah.
connections.
No, so let me back up. The year before, uh, I didn't know the whole dynamic. Our nannies, people from our church, and I didn't know there's people from the center there that sent, came and sang at our house, which we requested. So then a year later, when we were doing the practice, I'm like, oh, like, okay, this is how it works. They bring people from the church, they bring people from the center, and they get like 10, 15, 20 people, and they go in vans to certain houses that have already been prearranged, I guess. So when Tammy told me that we're going to our house, I'm like, oh, that'll be cool. Like, um, and the director comes in, he's like, everybody get in the car. Chris, you're not going. And I'm like, what? Like, and then another leader came in and he was like, I was like pretty upset. I'm like, why? This is, like frustrated. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I want to go home. And like, and they're like, honestly, everybody's here for a reason. Nobody just ends up at this center for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm like, I'm good. Like, yeah. And and I kind of said what I told you. I was like, no, I was drinking. I need to handle that. Like, this is when a wake up call. Like, we just went through this house remodel, buying the house. Plus, I was been sick with bloody like for like a month. Like, things are calming down. I want to be there for the holidays. And he's like, Harry, you can watch a movie. Just and at first, I wanted just to be like go and lay down in my room. And after they all left, and the leader stayed.
So wait,
It's
where
like,
did they all
okay,
go to?
they went to go carol at all the houses.
Including your house.
Apparently, yeah,
They didn't let you go.
yeah, they didn't let me go.
But Tammy thought you were coming.
Yes,
And she probably told your daughters and everything. Okay.
yeah. So then I guess Tammy had when they got back, I was kind of trying to get input. Like, did you guys go by my house? Like Asian lady. Um, they're like, yeah, I think it was the last house. And one of the guys is like, Tammy came up asking where's Chris at, and I think she talked to Alex. Oh, I shouldn't have said his name, but it's fine. Her brother, and
Agreed.
he
Who
told
was
her that.
training in Sacramento's Alex, but
Yeah, there was
right.
like, and then what's funny is you say that there's five Alexes in the house,
Yeah,
on
yeah,
both sides,
yeah,
and they go by
remember.
Sonia. Sonia is their like informal name,
Mhm.
so they'd be like, "Oh, Sonia, Sonia," and then Alex, and it gets so confusing. You're like, "Who are we talking about right now?"
Yeah, yeah. So you're not
But
blowing anybody's cover there.
so this actually ties into. I ended up watching this movie called God Is Not Dead, and it's really, really, really good. It's
You're
like,
watching that movie instead of going Christmas
yeah,
Carolina.
yeah. Like the guy's like, "Here, check out this one." He put it on, and
You're the
it
only one
really
that
had.
doesn't know. I mean, that's very specific. So they, what were they worried that you would
Oh, yeah,
want to stay, or I mean,
yeah. So the reasoning would be like, I found out later. They're like, we can't take you to the house because you already want to go home. If you go in the house, we're kind of stuck. Like, we can't pull you out legally,
yeah,
and it's just like avoiding that temptation. I'm like, I would have came back. Like, just want to say hi to him,
but yeah, yeah.
but they have to have like general rules for like if I was in the program for months, or they give you more freedom
I'm just surprised they didn't.
as.
When I'm hearing this whole thing, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like they're they and Tammy have a close, like I feel like they'd have a close relationship with all of the people who are kind of responsible for getting you there. So I'm wondering why they would lead her on to think that you would be coming. Why it seems like she'd be in on these things too. I don't know, or why she. It seems like
Well, I
they
mean,
had
there's a
to
reason
tell
for
her,
that.
"Hey, we're coming there." So at some point they thought you were coming, and they wouldn't lie to her.
Well, so I think our nanny had went Caroline, and her and Tammy had talked. Like, Tammy's like, oh, can they come sing at our house,
Oh,
without specifically asking if I'm coming.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think Tammy assumed because I'm there.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So that happened, and but let me just tell you, this movie reference is God is not dead, and here's the premise: there's an atheist philosophy or teacher who the student's signing up for classes, and he's like, he's wearing a necklace, and the counselor's like, this is the class at that time that you want, but I wouldn't take the class because you'll get an F, or the teacher's really hard on Christians. He makes you sign a paper at the beginning of the semester saying that God's not real, and if you don't do it, the highest grade you can get is like a B or a C if you don't sign the paper. and and so he's like kind of like not confident, but like, this one fits my schedule. Like, I think I'm gonna try it. Like, not believing the counselor, you know. The guy goes in there, and basically it's like a philosophical debate where, hold on one second, Philos- a philosophical debate where the guy goes, if you can prove me wrong, I'll give you an A. Or you can prove my theories. The philosophy of the atheist is like, if you can prove my theories wrong, is the only way to get an A in the class. And then it gets into that the guy needs an A because of his degree, like, he don't want to mess all that stuff up for what he wanted to do. But it's multi-leveled, so they get into these arguments, and the guy's bringing up uh, Stephen Hawkins, like all these people, like great arguments on his side, and it's forcing this kid gets consumed with presenting his side, the Bible, or why the Bible is real and why God is real. And it also has like a backstory where he's dating a girl who's telling him not to do it. So he's basically with the wrong girl. And that atheist teacher's with a wife who's Christian. And at the end, and then there's an Muslim girl who's secretly reading the Bible, who's like, very pretty. And her dad's like kicked her out of the house. And so it's this like multi back level story of all these different relationships
Mhm.
mixed in with these philosophy debates, religious debates in the classroom. So it's a great premise
Sure.
for a movie, So highly recommend. Yeah, and it's a movie I'd heard about like whenever it came out.
Mhm.
Yeah, God is not dead, and it ties into like everything you probably learned and how you started this podcast. Talking about like your beliefs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean,
he basically
having been
would
a
like
philosophy major, I mean, I can see how some of those early philosophy professors sometimes would have that uh objective to
basically prove me
just to
right.
break down
Oh,
everybody from like question no matter what you believed, but there were a lot of Christians and they always felt like they were being attacked. But
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's actually a
I mean,
deeper part of it.
I
It's probably
witnessed that.
based on like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so he's like, they get into like, who's the ruler, who's the God of judgment. And he's like, I'm the God of this classroom. You know, um, and he has to, basically, I think the student comes up with the idea of like, well, that's not fair. If you're going to give me an F, no matter even if how hard I tried to prove you wrong. So they have the class vote at the end, to kind of add that like, and everybody else signed the paper like God is does I forget exactly God is dead or God doesn't exist, or like if you want an A in this class, you have to sign a paper that you do not believe in God or something like, and
Yeah.
half the students are looking around like, I'll just sign it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, I watched the movie and then watched another one too, Samson. But in there's only Christian movies. Like there's no TV, no. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Because I did end up. Oh, let me back up. So after we got through Christmas, it's like I had this sense of relief. Like everything started to flow a lot better. Like talking to all the guys, making friends, like going to the sauna, hitting the ice bath. Um, like we're going to church. Um, like it's kind of one of those things. Like some days would be boring, and all of a sudden, like, oh, we got a new student, and then I kind of like one student like left after the holidays and like packed his bags and left, and it like changes that dynamic. So this is the one thing I noticed is like if a car pulled up, you like look out the window, you're like, who is it? Because there's no TV, or if like
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
food
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
based on donations. So it's like, oh, we got food. Oh, somebody delivered coffee. Like, oh, we're
Yeah.
out of butter and milk. Like, like, oh, we're out of hot sauce. I really wish we'd get hot sauce, but it's uh so like the little things become like the gossip, or like you try not to gossip, but it's like, oh, so and so, like you start learning more about people and like, oh, don't listen to so and so, they make up a lot of stuff. I'm like, I kind of believe what he's saying. But like, or like then so and so is talking crap about so and so, and you're like,
Yeah.
but I'm like kind of in the middle where like I'm friends with everybody.
Yeah.
But a little side note is we read from the Bible and we'd read like say 10 verses each or stuff. But because this is something you never thought about, if I read like 10 verses and then a Russian guy reads 10 verses, it's like you get kind of lost because they can't understand. So you basically have to read on your own. But then some of the leaders and some of the other students would have different versions of the Bible. So it kind of gets confusing
Mhm.
going around. I don't know if it makes sense,
Was
but
everyone there a Christian, or was there anybody who wasn't a Christian already? Or that,
no, that's a good point. I mean, I think,
or is that I mean,
yeah, no. So everybody pretty much was a Christian, but I think some of the people that came from jail, like say they did their time, but they're not fully released. They released with the ankle bracelet for like the last like 9 months or 6 months.
yeah.
Like one of the guys who's, I think he came from Pelican Bay, like tattoos, kind of like, I don't know if you call him Aryan Brotherhood, but in jail, that's who or the white side. He was like, he was funny. This is actually be funny. He was telling jokes like he's all, he we're sitting around the table and they're like, God will forgive you for all your sins, just reading the Bible and everything. And like he's like, I don't know, like I've done so much stuff, I don't even know if I remember them all. He's like, I used to stab chomos out on the yard for fun or something. And I'm like, what are chomos? He's like, child molesters. And the whole table is like, child molesters. You didn't know that? I'm like, oh, makes sense. But his parole officer came over and the leader came out shaking his head. He's like, that Doug guy is kind of funny. I'm like, what? I guess the parole officer saw some Russian writing on the whiteboard. And he's like, oh, you speak Russian to Doug? Doug's like, I only speak Russian when I'm tweaking or something. Or I'm only Russian when I'm tweaking.
Yeah, yeah,
You get the joke?
yeah. Well, maybe not. Why?
I'm only
Yeah,
rushing,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
hurrying.
yeah, yeah, no, I got it.
Uh, but me and that guy got we became like really good friends because he was in my bunk or in my room, and like he would tell me all these stories at night, like getting caught on a Ferris wheel by the U.S. Marshals and like other stuff he used to do in prison, like gang fights and like stabbing people and
But that's kind
leaving
of
people
past
in the
life
woods.
stuff. That's kind of past life stuff, breaking the rules a little bit, but that's gray area. Or you were,
Yeah, but he'd be like some of the people were intimidated by him, but like at night, like he'd be like funny, like he just kept telling gay joke after gay joke, like how long you been separated? I'm like what? And we're like your butt cheeks, like but just like over and over, like just uh uh. But it's funny, he got caught for something. I think somebody had molested one of his cousins or two of his cousins' kids, and he had got out of jail, so he went and took the guy up to the woods and like he said he cut off the sole of the guy's feet and made him crawl through a few miles home or get home on his own from out in the woods. And I'm like, really? That's kind of crazy. That's not very nice. And he's like, well, he molested a
yeah,
couple of the kids.
yeah.
And then he goes, that guy told on me. It's just like
Like a tattletale. Because,
yeah,
uh,
like high school or like that guy told on me.
yeah.
But then he said, I can't do all the stories justice, but he goes, oh yeah, I lost my train of thought. There was something else there, but anyways, there's a black guy there who's also on an ankle bracelet. He's like telling me every day, he's like, man, I'd leave if I were you. Like I'm only here because I have to, and like he was like encouraging me to leave or like when I'm ready. Um, and like me and him got along great. Like he would tell stories of like he's like, oh, I got caught with like a pound of this and I forget all the terms, like 2 zips of fentanyl and like all this stuff. And yeah. But I don't know, like I just like you kind of bond with all these people. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. The guy who came from like the high level prison, he would like kind of like make fun of like the lower level. Like they don't get along good, but at night he'd be like, man, they came from level one, level two. That's like it's like kids camp, like Snoopy, uh, Camp Snoopy. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, they don't even carry guns on the yard. You know, the cops. I'm like, oh, really? I didn't know that. And he's like, yeah, where I'm at, like you only get to go out of yourself for like 15 minutes a day, every other day. Like he just say like like it's a hands off policy. And I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, if you get in a fight with somebody, you got to stab them to death. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And he's like, well, yeah, it stops a lot of fights because if you stab them in the leg or you don't really try to kill them, then you get taken out by your own kind. Like so, like basically saying something has to escalate so bad that you're willing to kill somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Or you
Uh,
okay.
uh, yeah, there's he was like so many things. Oh, before he got there, like I think he failed a drug test uh, at the center by his parole officer, and he's like, um, uh, that he's like, I guess they moved him to like a lower security prison before he got out. And he's like, yeah, my cellmate came back with a bunch of fentanyl, a bunch of meth, a bunch of everything. He's like, we were having a party before I got here, and he's like, shit, this is like New Year's. He's like, I'd still be partying if they didn't ship me out. I'm like, really? How'd you get all that stuff in? Or not him, but whoever. He's like, it's easy. You got the guards, you got the nurses. He's like, you get whatever you want.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
gonna cost extra money too, though. But they got money on their
yeah.
books. That's what I never really understand. So they can get it in, but then you got to have some money, and then that means you
Oh
got to
yeah,
pay on the outside. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess.
yeah. These guys, they kept saying like this guy. He's like, man, I don't like how that leader talked to me. Like, it really upsets me. Like he'd get so mad. He's like, I'm gonna go talk to him. Like we'd be like, calm down, calm down. He's like, no, in prison there's more respect than this. I'm like, what about the guards? He's like, no, they treat you with respect. They don't talk to you like that. Like he would get so mad. Like he'd always compare it to prison. Like it was better. We're like,
Yeah.
and he's like, we're like, oh, these stories I haven't really thought about in the last few days. But he was like, yeah. So when they come in with what's the stuff they spray? It's not mace, but it like chokes you out.
Pepper spray.
There's some sprays.
But yeah.
Yeah, pepper spray or somebody's like, so what you do is you got to put you got to go t-shirt, put it in the toilet, get it all wet, wrap it around your face, and then get another one, get it all wet. So when they throw the can in, you can try to throw it back out. He's like, they don't come in with these little mace cans. They come in with these like fire extinguishers full of this gas. He's
Yeah.
telling me you got to put your mattress up against there so they don't bum rush your cage. He's telling me like all this stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, that's and he goes, man, in prison there's so much unity and like everybody's like on the same team and like you got so much backup. And my other bunkmate, he's like, oh yeah, you you really have a lot like I forget the way it happened. He was like, you got a lot of so everybody like riots at the same time. He's like, or like there's a lot of unity. He's like, shit, not for me. I was in solitary confinement, so when they come in, it was 1 on 20. He
Yeah.
had just got done telling us like how he liked it because everybody's
Yeah.
together,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then we were like asking him a follow up question. He's like, hell no, I was just by myself.
Oh,
uh, but he was telling me like I was like, oh, when you go to the kitchen, we're gonna have to hide the knives. He's like, shit, I can make a knife out of a newspaper that'll kill you in one hit. I'm like, what? He's like, I did tattoos in prison. We're like, how do you do that? He's like, oh, you just get a little electric razor and you take that engine, the motor out. And we're like, he's like, when you smoke cigarettes, I'm like, you can smoke cigarettes? He's like, yeah. I was like, how do you light it? He's like, it's easy. You just get a paper clip, you get wires, you get like just everything, like all the like
yeah.
ingenuity. He's like, yeah, we make pruno, uh we make knives out of fans in the kitchen, fan blades, or you get have somebody from the kitchen put it in your food, a knife in your food or a shank in your food.
Yeah.
Like
That makes sense. The
so,
newspaper is tough one. Wow, the newspaper. That's got to be tough.
yeah,
I've heard toothbrushes. I mean, fan blade, that's reasonable. That makes sense. But
yeah,
uh, newspaper, wow. I mean, it's like paper mache or something. But even then, that's
yeah. That's what I thought. Like,
got to be a. Did he actually tell you how to do it?
no, like a lot of these things were around the table, and it's like the leaders are walking. We're like,
Yeah.
Doug, stop.
So I mean, some of these people, some of this is this program is meets a requirement for probation or something, or like they're. I mean, because I
Yeah.
know I've had like probation for DUIs and drug possession where I had to be clean and take test. I mean, I had to do courses. I mean, so that the reason they're there. Some people are there strictly. I mean, but those people are less likely where they don't. They're just doing it because they got to meet a requirement type thing. Is a different mindset.
Hold on one second.
What are you doing, peeing?
Mhm.
I'm gonna go pee too. Maybe I'll pause it this time. So
So you had asked a question about
yeah, yeah.
oh, the
I mean, because that is the big difference. No disrespect to, or even I admit I've been through some of those where yeah, that was the reason that I wasn't actually trying to better myself. And I never went to something like that. I was talking about maybe like AA classes or NA classes, and you've got. I mean, you can tell, and it's unfortunate. I don't really like that. I mean, like I said, I had a different method to get clean. I was able to find something inside me. But when I had done some of those, I think those people are kind of can be a drag on the people who are serious about it. And I admit I was actually on that side. I was like, motherfuckers, I'm only here because I have to be here to meet a requirement. Maybe I get off earlier, 6 months earlier off probation.
yeah.
If do this, I mean, was that the case?
Oh, yes, that's a good point. So definitely the people on parole or with the ankle bracelets, they kind of had the attitude,
Hmm.
but they kind of were embracing like I don't want to use their name, so I'll just say, oh, the black guy who's like you could tell he kind of still like intrigued by like the drug dealing, the lifestyle.
Mhm.
He'd be like, man, I'm just doing my time. Like,
Yeah.
but he would also take the Bible very serious and be like, I just want to get like say his prayers at night, like thank you for my family, thank you for my support. I want to get closer to God. Have the Bible speak to me more, edify me, heal me. The funny one, or to me, was the yeah, it was the guy who came from the high level prison and that was in the solitaire for like all those years.
That was a white power
Um,
guy or no?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Pelican Bay. Oh, okay, but yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah. But, I mean, what's funny is like he got along with
Yeah, no,
the
I
black
mean,
the
you gotta
Mexicans.
click
It's
up
like
like that
they
in the joke. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah, and he never really claimed the Aryan Pride thing. It was like he said that he was
he's
kind of affiliated because of
yeah,
in jail, and then like he had uncles, and so
yeah,
he wasn't like
yeah,
I
yeah,
never heard him say anything racist
yeah,
or
yeah.
like
No,
anything.
no, it's funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it's funny, like him and like the other guy, the black guy, just teamed up right away and just would walk and tell stories and like
Yeah, it's
kind of
probably
like
nice to
bonded.
actually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think it is a bonding because you're not in that s situation where you have to uh be that. So I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but so he was always like, man, I just learned the Bible. Like this is my first time reading the Bible or doing Bible study. Like you know, he would say like little things like, oh, like he would know some verses and or like sayings from the Bible or like, I've only been Christian. Like he kind of like in a good way or like they would be like, yo, don't lust after women or and he'd be like, shit, how do you guys do that? Like I look at see a pretty girl and I think it's just natural. And they're like, yeah, it's okay to like appreciate a girl or stuff. It's just when you like have like dirty sexual, not dirty like bad, but like
No, no.
sexual like
Yeah, yeah,
fantasizing about like
yeah.
which that one's kind of hard because you kind of feel like it's in your instincts, but
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, I think just being aware of it at least is that was always real difficult for me. I think I'm a lot better now. I think age too, but just
yeah,
I produce less testosterone, which I'm comfortable with. Like I'm not somebody, oh, why don't you take testosterone boosters all this time? Like, no, I mean, I think my level's pretty natural. I think my need to procreate was when I was younger, and that there's that thing. But that was always a difficult thing. I think I'm pretty good at that now. But I mean, but yeah, no, I mean but that's the thing. It's not. But yeah, anyway, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a big
yeah,
one.
that but it's funny because he was kind of honest. He's like, what if you got so many sins or you've done so much bad stuff, and they're like, well, repent for your sins, and if you truly repent, ask God for mercy, or sorry, some of these words because I'm a little tired. I'm not articulating the best, but they're like they kind of summed it up as just the ones you remember, really repent for those, and ask Him to forgive or reveal other ones that you should repent to. So like that's what's cool about this Bible study and all these different backgrounds. It's like they're asking questions or stuff that you might think, but doesn't 100% apply to you, but it kind of does in its own way, in different variation. Um, yeah. So um, yeah. So I guess here's the next roadblock was that night that the caroling happened on Christmas Eve, and um, I watched those movies. I had a talk with one of the leaders, and he's like, "Hey, just it takes 21 days for your brain to rewire, and it takes 30 days to learn a new habit, like stuff I kind of read or years ago, like decades ago. Like, yeah, he's like, just try to just keep pushing longer. So when it started to get close to the 3 week period, it was going to fall right on Scarlett's birthday, or my 3 weeks would have fallen on a Wednesday, and her birthday was on a Friday.
But
So I'm like,
the minimum was 1 month, right? Or
whoa.
was it possibly
At this point, I'm still thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to him. I'm good, definitely good after 3 weeks.
okay?
Like I want to be home for Scarlett's birthday. Like I'm ready.
Hmm.
But here's the problem with like planning all this stuff without talking to Tammy and not knowing anything. And every time you try to go talk to leaders, it's kind of like, okay, well, like just wait longer, or like. But at the end of the day, they ended up letting me call Tammy and talk to my kid. So I don't know if I was getting special privileges or if it's because I was like threatening to
They,
leave.
yeah,
You get what I'm saying? Like
yeah, yeah,
they're going to give me the phone if I'm really threatening to leave. But it was more like I was talking to them as like, hey, this. They're like, well, like call your wife, but they're still standing around, so it's hard to be like, hey, I don't like this about the program,
yeah,
or I like
yeah.
this, but like she's like, you're not. You need to get closer to God and really surrender, and like I don't hear it in
Oh,
your
so she's
voice.
all in. She's all in
Yeah.
Christianity. It throws me off. I mean, I don't want to go off topic, but it always out of everyone, it's always the Asians that become Christians. Is the hard. It seems like. I mean, like I can understand Jesus coming for the sins or the people of the Jewish people. It seems like it's just
Oh, that's what
like
I'm saying.
God would come in a different form. It seems difficult that it would resonate with someone that has it seems like God, came maybe even if you take everything in the literal sense, all the stories literally, did he really come for all of humanity, or was he just coming for this group of people? Like that's really
Oh,
how
okay.
it's going to reach all the people. I mean,
Well, that sorry, earlier when I was talking about the New Testament versus the Old Testament, the New Testament was Jesus came for all, like whether you're Gentile or Jewish, it was saying that you're not going to get to heaven by following rules. You're going to get by having a pure heart, by loving thy neighbor, by loving thy brother, by living a Christ-like life, even though you'll never attain it. It's that striving towards it.
Mhm.
Um, so that was the one key. I'm glad you brought up the Jewish thing, because that's what the New Testament is about. Is you don't have to be Jewish, you don't have to be circumcised, you don't have to follow all the rules. Because the Old Testament you got to heaven by following the rules and repenting
Mhm.
by sacrificing animals or food, or you know. So that was a good point. Then the other thing was, like what my talks with I'll just call him Mike. He was telling me like, hey, like our wives want us, because he was actually in there for drinking too, and he was just like,
Is it when
you
you're
know,
you're giving a
yeah,
pseudonym? We'll call them okay. Or
what's that?
oh, you're
It's
giving a
fine. Mike's
huh?
fine. But
Yeah.
he was saying like our wives want us to be the men we're supposed to be. They're thirsty or searching for us to be the leader of the household. to lead by example. It's like they're yearning for that. Like they nag and they, uh, you know, uh, there's all this resentment and everything because it's like we're not, with the drinking, it's very selfish or partying or going out or spending money or, what I mean, gambling, anything, whatever. It's
Yeah, yeah.
like, but this reminds me of this verse. It's, I mean, there's a few spots in the Bible that have this, but, uh, so Ephesians 5, a couple of things. It says, if you honor your father and mother, things will go well for you and you will have a long life on earth. So, but then spirit guided relationships, wives and husbands. So this is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23. And further, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. For wives, this means submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For a husband is the head of his wife, as Christ is the head of the church. He is the savior of his body, the church. As the church submits to Christ, so your wives should submit to your husbands in everything. For husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He gave up his life for her to make her holy and clean, washed by cleansing of God's word. He did this to present her to himself as glorious church, without a spot or wrinkle or any other blemish. Instead, she will be holy and without fault. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they do their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love for himself. No one hates his own body, but feeds and cares for it, just as Christ cares for the church, members of this body. As the scriptures say, a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. This is a great mystery, but is an illustration of the way Christ and the church are one. So again, I say each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. And then there's verse 6 goes into children and parents. Children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord, for this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. If you honor your father and mother, things will go well for you, and you have a long life on this earth. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. But it's just there's I thought I was reading a different verse about wives and husbands, but it's kind of the same. It's like, God is like the head, and then the
If,
woman looks to the man,
so if
to
you're
the
not
husband to,
something that she wants to submit to something she believes in. So if she's willing to, but that makes sense. I mean, you're saying
yeah,
you could use the term nagging. I think that's a negative term to
yeah,
use, but I mean, it's actually to better you to for her. I
yeah,
mean, she needs you to be the best you can be for her to be. She can't serve you in a way if you're not
yeah,
serving yourself and serving the family and everything. I mean, it is a thing. I mean, but again, I think that's. I mean, I think that's
common sense.
common sense, right? Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to give credit to the Lord for that, but I mean, it's
Well,
agree with it. I agree. I mean,
well,
these are actually the deep roots that I'm thinking. Like these values again, and there's a feminist perspective too. I mean, you could choose a different lifestyle, but for the dynamic family dynamic, I think that is evolutionarily true. I think it's common sense true. I think it's true across cultures, pre-Christian, pre-Hebrew. I mean that those are like fundamental uh truths. Like that's what I agree with. I'm like these are like objective truths that, and if it takes Jesus to present them to us, then by all means it is true on that level. But at the same time, I always have my perspective on these issues are that those, because they're objective truths, we can, that if
well,
anybody just sits there and stews long enough, they'll come to the same conclusion. And they, if they don't come to the same conclusion, then we need to figure out why, or what issue is there. And it really doesn't matter how we come to those conclusions, so long as we can at least recognize these are, if we go too far astray from them, we're going to have a serious breakdown of society, and that is what we're experiencing, I think, to some
yeah,
uh at present.
yeah. I agree with what you said, and that they're almost like fundamental truths, and that's why like through reading the Bible, it's like what I'm really amazed at is like, let me see one thing here. It says the Old Testament written 2,000 years before Christ, so that'd be like 4,000 years ago. So Proverbs is from King David, I believe, either David or Solomon. And like these proverbs, I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're like little they're like little short proverbs. So like for example, a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. I mean, there's everyone is like pretty much good. Better to have a little with godliness than to be rich and dishonest. Um, like for example, this is what I found pretty. So yesterday, so basically at the center, we'd read each day. There's there's over 31 days of Proverbs, so you read Proverbs of the date. So like the 20th, you read the Proverbs 20. So the first one says, "Wine produces mockers, alcohol leads to brawls. Those led astray by drink cannot be wise." But it's like it's just going to my head like, okay, this was written 4,000 years ago, and it's like these are the same problems they were having back then, or like in a weird way, you kind of think like, oh, that might have happened in the 1800s or 1,000 years ago, but like when it's like all this,
I would say, yeah, it would even be more true in the ancient past because what else was there? I mean,
yeah, like for example, those who love pleasure become poor. Those who love wine and luxury will never be rich. Watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut and stay out of trouble. People may be right in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their heart. Like, I mean, there's like
yeah,
thousands of these. Like
yeah, yeah.
every word of God proves true. He is a shield to all who come to him for protection. The man who loves wisdom brings joy to his father, but if he hangs around with prostitutes, his wealth is wasted. Yeah, you should actually, if you wanted to jump into some proverbs, I think you'd like
Yeah,
because they're just short and.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And little like pithy remarks, yeah.
But oh, sorry. So with the story, so on Scarlett's birthday, I really want to leave. They kind of like, hey, just call your wife. I called her and talked to the kids and like we got it handled. Your parents are coming over. We'll celebrate her birthday. I'm like, I really want to come home. She's like, just that. This is the first time she told me, okay, at least do 30 days. Like your mom says, at least do 30 days. Our other friend Marina said at least 30 days. Your sister agrees 30 days. Like we all want you to come back healed. We want you to be the man you're supposed to be. Like reach your true potential. So once I missed Scarlett's birthday, I'm like, okay, like let's just get to 30 days. Um, and it still was kind of up in the air because when I called after 30 days, you get phone rights. I called Tammy and it went to voicemail. And I come out of the room and the guys are like, how'd it go? How'd it go? Because that's the other thing is all the guys like, hey, stay another month. Like you're not ready yet. Like we're gonna miss you. Like everybody's encouraging. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like I want to get back to like work. I want to get back to this. And they're like, no, like, like it takes 3 months, like 2 months, like, you can graduate, like,
Mhm.
but part of me is like you kind of like I didn't, and that's my big thing. I kept telling everybody, it's like I didn't sign up for this. I thought I was coming for 3 days, kind of take a break, maybe 5 days, take a break,
I'm
come
sure
out, go,
everyone
see
had
how I
to
feel.
similar. Everyone else
Huh?
knew what was up, or you were the only one that was in that situation. They were all like pre-planned it, or
I think some did. Like some of those people had been in the program twice.
okay.
Uh, like 3 or 4 of the people were there from court orders, and like you said earlier, with different.
Meeting requirement for some.
Yeah, but they actually would rather do like easier ones, like
Okay,
oh, ones where I can go to my classes, go to anger management,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
go to have phone calls, have TV,
yeah,
maybe go to work and like make minimum wage for
yeah.
like some program. But the problem is, I think a lot of those programs are filled up. So somehow they got put in this program, and they're like, oh, like immediately they're kind of doing like, I want to transfer, like I'm gonna talk
Yeah.
to my PO,
Sure, yeah.
and
Oh,
then
yeah.
yeah, but they've
Bitch.
been staying there, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, the three that were there on parole, they were there when I left, so, like, after a few weeks. So I mean, some of them had been there for a couple months. But oh, here's what's cool. So the last 3 or 4 days, one of the leaders started taking me to work with me, and they don't really tell you stuff. They're like, Chris, you're going to work today. And during my time there, like during the month, like other people would get taken to work. Like,
Not your work. They got work for you.
oh, like work for
Yeah.
I think people outsource for the center. Like they use, like some people have skills or for like labor or for demo, for like some guy knows how to install HVAC. They bring him out. It's like, oh, we got to go pick up wood over there, or go paint a guy's house. So that all money all goes to the center. Like, so some of the guys like were complaining, like, oh, I don't want to go work for free. But it's like, if you really think about it, you got free house, free
Yeah.
food, like,
Yeah.
um, so the last 3 or 4 days, I started being able to go. Like, I thought I'd go to work once and it was cool just hanging out and like helping out, and that's like we're getting better lunches. Like you have the freedom to like talk, or um, just getting out of the house after you're in the house with like 14 guys is like, it's like a refreshing.
Yeah.
And the next day they took me back to work. And then the next day they took me back to work. And then on the Saturday, okay. So after 30 days, I called Tammy, and it kept going to voicemail. And I came out, and all the guys are like, how'd it go? How'd it go? I'm like, I went to voicemail. And they're like, she doesn't want to talk to you. And they start like clapping and laughing.
Yeah.
They're like, you're staying for 2 months. I told you. And I'm like, I no, like it's her phone's old, it dies, which is true. She puts her phone down when she's putting the kids to bed, and and then I was like, I'm gonna call her back in like 30 minutes. Called her back, and it goes to like voicemail, and they come out and they're like, how'd it go? I'm like, oh, it's still dead. And they're like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but after that I had texted her like, hey, my phone time's up. I want to be picked up tomorrow. If you I'm ready, you'll definitely see a change in me. If Saturday doesn't work, Sunday after church, because I just had to get all the info out because you don't get the phone.
Yeah. 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 But you're
So
still in the back of
then,
your mind thinking, "Oh shit, I might have another month. She doesn't want me back," or I mean, because they're
well,
putting in that in your ear, right?
yeah,
Like, you're like,
yeah,
you're you ain't coming out. And I mean, you already were long past you had originally. I mean, you wouldn't put it past her at that point, right? Like, oh shit, I might be in here the long haul.
yeah. Like it goes both ways. Like I had like once I got to talk to her, I thought like I can get out in the next. Like at that point, I wasn't. I was done being like, I'm getting out Saturday, I'm getting out Sunday. Like I was thinking, even if I have to wait until Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, like I'm not staying another week. Like I'll get my stuff. I've done my 31 days, 30 days, 35 days. Like I will ask for my stuff, and
Yeah.
but she texted that she was actually at church and like volunteering. So the guy like brought back the phone and like showed me her text, and I think that's when I responded like, "Can you pick me up or let me know?" And then I had to get the phone back, so I went to bed, and then that morning we did Bible study, and I didn't go to work, and then they called saying they needed extra guys, so one of the leaders dropped me off over there at this house to work, and they went and got pizza at lunch, and they brought it back, and the guy who brought the pizza back was like, "Oh, Chris, your wife's at the house to pick you up." Like, I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know." Like, I grabbed some pizza, and like at that point, I was like a little nervous too. Like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
like you know, like this flood of like emotion, like not emotion, like
Yeah.
sad, like happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I imagine. Yeah.
And then so then going back to the house, and like she was out there, and I said hi to her, and she was like, you can tell like she was been through emotionally a lot.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna go in and pack my stuff and say bye to the guys. At this point, like I'm friends with everybody. Like a new Russian guy who just, this is kind of crazy. He flew over to Mexico, got off the plane, I guess, partied in Mexico, tried to cross the border, got caught by ICE, was in like 30-day detention, somehow got dropped off at the center up in Sac.
That's sad. That's
And the first day, like, he was crying and like we didn't know what was going on. And then you find out a few days later his story. And like even after few days, he's like, Chris, I'm going to miss you, you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, like, and then like everybody's like, I want your hangers or like give me a call, like you're writing down your number and like giving hugs
yeah.
and it's kind of the thing where you don't want to be too happy because you get to leave, but then like everybody else is like they were nice, but I'm saying like they they oh they're like we did like a prayer and everybody prayed for me and um like I handed out some clothes to like certain people and they do this is what they're like, hey, send seeds and sunflower seeds and hey, send some nail clippers and hey, we need hangers and like we need sugar and coffee for the I'm like, yeah, I'll take care of you guys. Like, so it's oh, let me back up. Like a few days before that, we had to go to Vacaville to go to a church up there who's it's the same center, but it's just the Vacaville one. And this is kind of like where the fun stuff would happen. Like they're like, usually we just go to church locally. They're
Yeah.
like, we're going to Vacaville, get ready. And it would go to get in the van, which is kind of like the fun with you're with the guys driving. And the head guy, the director is like, Chris and this other guy, Mike, you're going with me. So it's like, okay. Like, so we drove with like the head guy to Vacaville and we stopped and like got Starbucks and like I'm kind of intimidated by him. So I'm like I wasn't really speaking. He's like, how are you doing? Like, I'm like, yeah, I'd like to leave and I'm doing great. I'd like to leave. And he's like, brother, I really recommend staying. You know, you know, he said some other things but um but he didn't tell me I couldn't leave, or like, he's just like, I don't know if it's best for you, but so that's why that Friday, like I kind of really had my mindset on like, even if like I should be able to leave within the next week. Because here's the thing that my brain starts thinking is, okay, I've done 31 days. I don't want to do 2 months. I don't want to do 3 months. So why would I want to stay another week or two? And at that point, I'm kind of getting into like the gossip and like friends with everybody and friends with like the leader side. And you kind of see where you're like getting like, I don't know, like a little, not stir crazy, but you're like getting like caught up and it's like you're in this bubble where you're like, okay, I got to go back to the real world and there's going to be temptation. I can go to the store and pass by the beer. Like I'm,
Well, and going into there, you didn't have the mindset that, I mean, I've never talked to you and you say like, give me a hard like, hey, I'm gonna quit. I mean, you didn't even going in there, you weren't like, oh, I'm doing this to quit. I'm doing this just to 3 days just to get my head straight. And then obviously if you that mindset is leaves it open to continue, but having to
well,
stay there that long, actually, I mean, I still even to this moment, I mean, are you done? Are you quit? You think you're quit? Or I
yeah.
mean, have you made
Yes,
that commitment?
I am. No, I am. And here's
You've never made that
my thing.
commitment before? Is this the first time in your life you've actually made that commitment? I've never heard you. So, I mean, you've always been a man of your word. I've never heard you say, you might have told yourself that. I've never heard you, I mean, that's, it's going to
Well,
get,
yeah, no, no, it
are you
is.
willing to
Well,
say that you're done with that shit?
here's yeah. So here's what's pretty cool is not one time in there did I have like alcohol craving. Like I didn't even fantasize or think about it. Like I really feel
But
like
that's
the
there too.
praying,
I mean, that's easy, maybe
yeah,
easy in some ways.
yeah.
Like,
Praying the year about it, like I really felt like I was a slave to it. Like I'd have to go to the store every day. Like I couldn't function. Like it really like kind of consumed just my like mindset, even if I wasn't drunk.
sure, yeah, yeah.
That like I almost feel like kind of that Suboxone thing. Like once breaking that dependence and like feeling like good after, it's like I don't want to, especially like I just put Tammy through all that. Like I think it was harder on her than me. Like she dealt with my family, she dealt with the kids by herself.
Yeah,
She said she was like really emotional, crying for like the first few weeks, and then the kids are crying a little bit, asking like only once, but like she had to deal with all my parents.
Sure.
like in a good way. Like she had to coordinate with neighbors for
Oh yeah, yeah. No, oh
rides
yeah.
for the
I
kids.
mean,
Like,
you're busy when you, that's part of the thing that made you stressed. Basically, she had to take on
yeah,
everything that you did. So obviously, yeah, that's extremely
yeah,
hard. And her
and
to,
she dealt with all my work stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
the state paperwork for leave and
She's a tiger mom, though. We know that.
yeah. No, she like I love her. Like, yeah, like it makes me appreciate like when I was in there, you kind of get those feelings like, man, I kind of feel tricked. Like I don't know, but then it's like those emotions kind of go away. Like like it's kind of like that short term, like what's going on, like um,
So I do want to get, I mean, I am interested because I had thought that you, when you said you were going to go choiring or caroling and but you didn't because I mean that's I mean there's a more there's an adult level relationship with your wife obviously that there's probably a little shame there, a little pride, a little uh I mean, that dynamic's a little it's a little more transparent though. I mean, you both you can look at each other, you know what's up, you know what's up a little more than your daughters. I mean, what to what level did they know what was going on and how did you treat it? Were you able to because that's hard. I mean, you are the man. You are leading the family, but here you are kind of in a weak spot that you have to it part of it is humility and admitting something. So you're proud you came out of that. I definitely came back a better man. You know in your heart that you are a better man and are a better father and husband, but still there's that like yeah. So give me that on the
well,
other level,
well,
especially
yeah.
a little bit of camp.
So a few things. So towards the end, like the last month or two, like rather like I would never be like hammered in front of kids. Like it would just be like Violet would see me with a beer and she's like,
Yeah,
"Really, Dad? You're drinking a beer?" Like it was more like joking,
but yeah,
like so like she'd see me put like a little nicotine pouch in and she'd be like, "Oh, like really, Dad? You're doing that?" Like kind of like joking,
yeah, but yeah,
but so here's where this is why I feel blessed for several reasons. Like all my family and friends and support and like really everybody came through. But even going to the center, like our nanny was going to church to all those church services. So like I wasn't allowed to talk to her and she wasn't allowed to talk to me. Like you're not allowed to talk to girls or like they keep you pretty strict because you're representing the center and there's all these people and they're trying to manage it. You can't just be going up to people or
yeah,
like like you can't go to the bathroom without a leader going with you.
yeah.
Um, but like I would able to be like, oh, how the girls doing? And she's like, good. Or like, oh, how's Scarlett's birthday? She's like, good. I stopped by. And then because her brother was the director, like I don't think I was getting special treatment because I was going to leave. Like I would get in trouble like anybody else. Like I didn't get in trouble, like but I was following the rules.
Mhm.
But but it gave me like what's it called? Like I kind of already trusted the program, even though I didn't know any of the details.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
of my goals had been to read the Bible and really focus on it. One of my goals had been to like solve this drinking problem or break the cycle. Um, uh, going like just it's almost like if you went to I don't want to use jail or something, but like you knew the cops and you knew the thing, like they're still like being like firm and stern with you, but also if you're showing them respect and like some of the other people aren't,
Mhm.
it's like and you're like they're giving you a little bit more grace or a little bit more. So when they're telling me to stay or like we're gonna talk to your wife or um
Well, it probably makes you actually more. I mean, you're able to not go against it. You don't have that feeling of like, oh, fuck these motherfuckers.
oh yeah,
Where some people would be like, I don't know these like
yeah,
who they
that's what's
above
happening.
me.
Yeah,
You're putting
yeah,
them at a higher, but you're
yeah,
elevating them as hey, you're here to help me. So it makes you a better for them. I mean, yeah, you're gonna treat them better, which in
yeah.
turn makes them treat you better. So
Yeah, no, that's true. Is like, and I also had the idea that like, there's no way I'm staying here a month, or sorry,
another
2 months or 3 months, where some of them they want to graduate or they have to stay longer,
Mhm.
or it's their second time, and if it's your second time in, they like, well, we already gave you the faster route program,
Yeah.
so like and they here's the other thing, they do things to humble you, like, oh, if you don't really get along with this person, like maybe you guys are like roommates, or oh, if you really like this ministry, like after a few months or you get closer, we're gonna switch it up and put somebody else, and to kind of like test your, like they want to see, spiritual growth. They want to see growth in you. So whatever problem you had, or whenever you come in, or some of the ruts you were getting stuck in, even there over the months, they want to see growth. It's just things I picked up on. Like some of the little rules are like there for discipline, or for to keep everything in order, even if they don't make sense.
Mhm.
You know. So at the end of the day, like I highly recommend the the program. It's like I think it was a blessing. Like I really like just being able to read the Bible and all those Bible studies, and and everything. And that's what I was gonna say, is like I think some of the other programs, like their attitude is, let me see. God will, I just read, this is the first time I read this, their website. God will provide rehabilitation ministry is designed to be completed within 1 full year and may be summarized by the following three stages. Critical. Through each program, participants' experience varies. This period typically lasts through the initial 2 months of enrollment. During this time, a student undergoes physical drug withdrawal, conscientious repents, undergoes confession, leaves behind unhealthy habits, and changes the general lifestyle. The rehabilitation. The core of this rehabilitation period is structured to give each student an opportunity to get to know Jesus Christ as his or her personal savior. A substantial amount of this time is invested in Bible study, searching for answers to personal inquiries, and under ministry leaders' guidance, developing a new character and learning to live a godly life. Adaptation. During this period of adaptation, the student who completes the rehabilitation program finds a personal calling in the church, begins to participate in a specific ministry, and finds employment outside of the rehabilitation center, while simultaneously learning to overcome temptations and challenges with the help of Jesus Christ. But uh, yeah, so it's more of like a God-based, like if you're having issues, it's like it's finding a higher power, or getting closer to God, or like turning to those principles of, all with the goal of having eternal life, and not going to hell. Like some of these words I just use to sum up, but it's like yeah. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say was that, like, I do believe in a higher power, and like Jesus, and the Holy Spirit and the Lord, or God. And one of the things that really helped me cement that was like studying like evil, like child molesters, satanic, Luciferians, like people who torture and want to rule over humanity and hate beauty, and want to see, kill, and destroy, and start wars for profit, and like that materialistic, like just evil energy, like pure, like evil, like, did you freeze?
No, I'm not frozen. Am I frozen to you?
Oh, okay, there you go. But it's like okay, at some point you get to this thing, the more you leak, no, you're not frozen, no.
Oh.
The more you look into it, you're like, okay, evil definitely exists. So, good has to exist. You see a beautiful, innocent child, you see your son, you see the flowers, you see all the animals play, like, so it's like, and then reading the Bible, it has warnings about all this stuff. It's like, and I haven't done a good job of summarizing the Bible. I mean, I think you would have to at least read the New Testament to like judge for yourself, or Proverbs, and
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, there's a whole, I mean, I'd like to actually go down that path someday more. I mean, that gets, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to discuss there, but you still didn't quite answer. What did you tell your daughter? I mean,
oh,
they're different
well,
ages. I mean, obviously, Violet's gonna have a little more understanding. She's probably understands completely almost, and then Scarlett's not gonna understand completely. And what do you tell them? You want to be honest, but you can't really explain it. They're not gonna quite understand it to the degree of this. How did Tammy? I mean, they're gonna ask. Hey, you're
Well,
gone for a month. What did she tell him?
this is where I think it's a little. I get your point. It was, I think, because it's like, oh, we're going to Nanny's brother's. Daddy's just working on becoming a better person, and
Okay,
maybe like when I got back, she's like, "So you're not drinking, Dad?" I'm like, "No," like so she knows the drinking thing,
yeah,
So I don't think it was really hidden. I think there was so much love and support around her where she just felt
yeah.
like it wasn't like like I did say bye to them. Like I didn't know how long I was going. Like I didn't know. And the bit it wouldn't even been that I was totally against going that long. The way it happened, which I'll take the blame for. The last second, right before the holidays, like it was a perfect storm. And it worked out in a good way, I guess you could
Well, I
say.
was gonna say you needed it was I think Tammy was waiting for it to for that opportunity to
Yeah,
seal the deal.
but
It's almost
yeah.
tough to hover on almost. It's better to sink to that position where it provides you the opportunity to boom now. Yeah. So Scarlett wasn't. I mean, it's got to be
Oh,
weird to see you. I mean, because I remember, my dad was in prison when I was like 3, so I don't remember him. And I remember first seeing him in these weird little rooms that he was like a halfway place. He was allowed to come out, and we could sit at these tables and stuff. And so it was. I remember it being real weird to me. And yeah, my mom never really. I mean, the terms she used, I didn't understand. Later, I realized it, and they never had lied to me. And of course, I didn't even remember him going in the first place. So it was I just remember it is significant to a child for sure. Something's weird. Daddy's not around for a month, especially more so Scarlett because she's not going to understand as I think Violet probably kind of got it. But I mean, did she give you
yeah. I mean,
look at you weird? I mean, was there a weird like
no.
I remember not again, I didn't know my father before really, so I remember like teaching him how to operate the house. Like, here's this, hey, when you leave the room, you got to turn off the lights or something. Like, I treated him differently now that she's obviously remembers you, but it's still, it's like kind of like, was there awkwardness? I feel like there'd be an awkwardness.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, Violet's like funny. I guess Tammy said that like one night, like 2 or 3 weeks into it, like she broke down saying like, "Oh, I miss Daddy," and then that was it. Um, but like I would call and like, "Oh, what are the kids doing?" They're like, "They're playing." I'm like, "Can I say hi?" Like Violet would run by and be like, "Hey, Dad," and like
Oh, okay.
So they were like,
Yeah,
here's what also happened is like my family was visiting, my mom and Otto were coming over.
sure.
Tammy was like Donnie and his kids were coming over. Like every day or every weekend there was like Marina and Russ, their kids were like and then like the nanny was coming over. Like she's not our nanny anymore. I just call her the nanny. Like she
Oh,
works
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
she
Oh,
just helps out like randomly,
yeah, yeah.
not randomly, but
Oh, she
sporadically.
was, yeah, yeah, she always was
Um
your nanny.
like so this was good. I guess this would be the finishing thing is they were like so after 30 days I would have got like visits and I would have like I could use the phone 3 times a week, like for
Okay.
15 minutes. So Tammy, one of the things is like, well, it's about to get easier. We can go to church now and meet with you. You can sit with us. Are you sure like you don't want to stay longer? You have off like 3 months if you want, you know.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, like I'm pretty set. Like no, I'm not drinking, no plans to drink. Like it's not like some secret. Like for example, these like nicotine lozenges.
These
Those
you
were
got
like,
going in right now?
yeah.
Oh,
But
already,
here's the
that's how
thing
it all starts.
is that was the one thing like I was craving there,
Yeah.
and almost like a cup of
Yeah.
coffee thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like these are
Oh,
like
no
pure
coffee
nicotine
there?
salts. No, we had. I'm saying
You
it's
said
like the coffee
sometimes they
thing
bring it some.
with what's it called? Like I would think about it like, oh, I would like to have a lot. nicotine lozenge.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then after like 30 minutes, it goes away. And then like an hour later, 2 hours
So why
later,
are
it's
you
like,
breaking down and coming out and you know you cannot use it and you come out and you're using it? That's just going to be the Trojan horse. It's a Trojan horse right there. You let that Trojan horse in.
but here's the thing is like, what I learned from going to the thing was like, after 2 days, like I felt good. Like I was, all I'm saying is like, for example, I didn't have any urges for alcohol.
Yeah.
Like the only urge I would have is like the nicotine thing.
But it would go
And it
away.
was like, huh?
But it would go away.
Yeah, but I'm saying it would pop up like all the time. Like, oh, like, but,
Okay.
oh, so here's the good news. So when she ended up picking me up on Saturday, we end up going to the church, the main church where everybody goes the next day. And I went to the store and got like the nail clippers, the sunflower seeds, like butter,
I'll send it.
hot sauce.
He's in the
I went through and got extra clothes. Like some of the guys asked for like some sandals
yeah.
um, and so we went to the church as a family, and like all the people from the center had to sit in the middle. And then I at the on the way there, the nanny was like, "Hey, the church wants to pray for you. They're gonna invite you up to the front of the stage. They want to pray for your family." So at the end of like a 3 hour service, like in front of like a packed church, they invited us up and said a prayer for us as a family and everything. And then afterwards, I got to say hi to like the guys and like give them all the stuff. So it's kind of like they're like, come visit or come to the sauna, like in the future. And then I've been texting with one of the leaders, like he's gonna come help me hang a door, a barn door, like a decorative one. So
Hmm.
yeah,
All right.
how are you doing?
Good, good, good. Excellent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Things are good here. Uh, trucking away on the land. My rock walkways are the soul of my land. So I lay those down during the last cool dry season. It's still cool here. We don't have a cold season, but it is cool. And then then it starts getting hot and dry, and then I start cutting the trees. So now I've moved on from my rock walkways to pruning. That's what I do now. But so yeah, I mean I'm Monday through Friday I'm off, and then I teach all weekend. Although Friday is when I do my prep work to create my lessons. And then my mom, her condition is
Oh yeah.
gotten more and more. But I go to see her every Monday, and she's very present. It's really interesting. I mean, I can have these like complex conversation, but it has to be uh short, and I can explain her things, and she understands. But then, like literally, if it goes on more than like 3 or 4 minutes, she won't remember where we started, and it'll be confusing.
Oh,
Really interesting. I mean, she's kind of a case study for me to see, and that's actually at the same time I'm trying to, and I see her doing repetitive like she feels like she has something to do. She actually doesn't know where she's at. She thinks she's here temporarily, and she often packs her bags and thinks that she's on vacation and that she's about to leave, and then she'll get panic and think that she has to have reservations made. So a lot of it is I'll send videos to her often that the carers at her place can show her that everything is I just tell her, hey, everything's okay, everything's taken care of, just
oh.
relax. So I mean it's interesting, and at the same time that's what I'm
Did she
doing.
remember you?
Yeah, she remembers me. Oh yeah, yeah. No, not there yet. Eventually, I mean, I'm ready that she will lose that. Yeah, she has no like she's present. She is, in fact, to a degree, from a Buddhist perspective of enlightenment, like she's so present. She's got no concept of really the future or the past, except every once in a while she'll go in these panics because she doesn't remember anything from the past. She just looks around and has to pick up these cues from her scenario, and she feels like, oh, I must be on vacation because she lives at a wonderful like a resort that was converted into this like dementia center thing where there's people, and the Thai nurses that there are, they're most of them are young and some of them are like intern from the university here, which is big on nursing. And so they look like students, and she calls them students sometimes. Little, oh, the school children in Thai look particularly younger, so she thinks of them as like children, even though they're in their
Oh
20s
wow.
and stuff. So she's got this weird, like, she doesn't know where she's at, but no, she knows me. She knows my son. She knows I mean, she knows everything now. Again, eventually that will, um, she'll lose those two. But I think she's yeah. There's no like fog there. It's just her memory, so she does, and she doesn't know where she's at. She doesn't know how long she's been there. Even today, she doesn't know that she saw me yesterday and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's
Oh
all memory. It's memory is severely uh uh I mean, her memory is, yeah, I mean, it's severe how little memory she has. But if if you just recognize it as cognitive process, she's actually not, it's not crazy. Like she's using, so she's got this boyfriend that she met, and or I mean that she's been living with, and he's actually going to be leaving this. So this is going to be a weird dynamic shift, but she'll forget him after a while. Even when she
oh
stayed with me, I brought her back here. She didn't remember him. But so it's
wow.
weird how they even function. And he's got the same
Oh
conditions.
wow. I was gonna ask.
Crazy, dude. But they've got nurses and cares that are wandering around. But this is a literally a resort, so it's not like a facility with doors and hallways. It's they've got their own little room, and they walk out. She's got her own room, but she stays there. But once she leaves that room, she has no idea where it is. But so when I'm there, I'm like, how does she function? But the nurses and carers are trained for this, and they just kind of redirect her, but without her even realizing that she's in a quote unquote facility of some
Oh
sort. She
wow.
thinks she's on vacation. So and she thinks, so that's why she'll go into these panics. Oh shit, oh, I don't have my plane ticket or something. I got to get out of here. So one time what she did, I guess she got in an argument, which is understandable. Two people with this condition that both have, past long marriages and are now in this situation and somewhat have a recognition that they're in a relationship, but also can easily forget
Wow.
about it
That
instantly. So they got in an argument over something, probably something minor. She got mad and she packed her bags, and she's got this like backpack because that's how she always travels, like a backpacker style
yeah.
backpack. She leaves and then she walks, and then within 5 minutes, she has no recollection that she just got in this argument with her boyfriend. And all she sees is that she's got a backpack on and that she's at this resort place. And then she goes into the office and
Wow.
she's waiting for her taxi or a bus to take her to the airport. Because again, it's easy to say, oh, that's crazy. But if you really recognize the situation, she's present and she's using the cues. Well, I've got a backpack on. I'm here. I look like I'm in a resort. This place looks, the office looks like a reception area. It's a really nice reception area. So, oh, I must be waiting for an airport. And then, so I had to like call her and kind of get her. And it's not a big deal because once you kind of reroute her and get her in her room and unpack her things, she'll forget that she ever thought that she was waiting for an airplane because she's just using her present cues to figure out where she should be. So it's a really interesting situation.
Wow.
So at the same time, I'm thinking, and my grandma went through this, and she was the one taking care of her during that time, and that was in Orville, more of a facility style, hallways and stuff like that. But I'm actually, that's part of what I'm doing here, creating that land, just in case I'm in that position. I want to be cool. I want to just be able to walk around my land. So and one thing I always I try to get her just kind of sit and meditate, to just be like, just don't even worry, like in that state, that's sometimes the best thing to do is just be sit down, close your eyes, and then you'll wake up, boom, you'll be brand new. I mean, because literally like every 3 or 4 minutes, her memory so if she could just sit down, unpack, get everything for
Oh
4 minutes, close your eyes, open them up again, bam, and then you can start over again. So what I'm trying to do here on my land is create something that, if I am in that position where I don't have any memory, that I can just kind of close my eyes, open them, and just figure out, okay, I'll have so much familiarity with my land, with my walkways, that I won't lose those memories. Even I don't remember what happened yesterday, the day before, or 5 minutes ago. I'll be able to just kind of get up and wander around, pick some fruit off the trees, and I'm actually trying to prepare myself to have a nice cycle where I could go. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I am 2040 is when it's going to start the gathering. So I mean, your kids should all be grown up, and I mean, at that Scarlet will be just around
Yeah.
8 something. 2040 is the big time, so I'm going to expect you out here by then. I'd like to see you
Yeah.
here before, but that's when it really starts. But it'll be every year, so it won't be like you have to come this year, and
Oh
it'll
yeah.
be a place where we can all and I mean, so I kind of want to create that commodity. I would like it to be. I don't want to make rules, but I would like to have some sort of thing like, hey, let's forget the phones, forget the things. I don't know
Hold
yet
on.
what, but I do want to create something that matches kind of this. And that's kind of why your question, hey, what's
Yeah.
up? What's going on? But I wanted to tie it
All
into
right.
what you're saying and to talk about these philosophical things. I mean, I'm open to the Lord. I'm open to the teaching of Jesus and all these things, even though at the same time I will push back on these elements. The main element is like, can we not would somebody be able to find, would they come to these same conclusions by looking inside internally and having no access? In some cases, there are people with no access to Christianity, or even if they choose, especially somewhere like a Thai society, like would you believe that God is going to expect my wife to convert to Christianity when there's no real, I mean, you could say, well, she has the opportunity because there's some Christian church opened on a hill, but really it's not realistic to expect people from a Buddhist society to cross over. At the same time, most Buddhist people, when they treat Christ as like he is, he's teaching the truth. But so there are these things. So I love to have these conversations. I don't want to totally. I mean, this opens up a big Pandora's box. But I do want to let you know that to a degree, I apologize to Christianity. That's what I've come to recognize in these last. I mean, recently in recent times, I realized, you know what, I want to be open to these ideas. At the same time, I will push back on certain things that I might not agree with, but not in a negative way, in a respectful, more. I don't think I've been overly disrespectful to Christianity, but I do think maybe sometimes you probably felt that I had some negative. I just want to address these negative things, that those negative feelings I had for Christianity are actually problems with myself that I had, and they were mostly just the idea of a doctrine that you can't question things. And I believe that to find truth, we do need to question things. That might be one area where there could be conflict, but ultimately those are trivial issues, and we do have a direct path to truth that I think Jesus could help, or the teachings of Jesus and stuff are actually in line with uh, objective truth, finding objective truth, healing society. We definitely need it, and I'm willing to
Yeah.
coalition.
Okay. I have a quote for you. This was on the wall at. Oops, I hit the wrong button. This was on the wall at the center. Sorry, something popped up. I gotta close the pop up. Oh, if you look at the world, you'll be distressed. If you look within, you'll be depressed. If you look at God, you'll be at rest.
I don't know about that. Looking within, you'll be depressed. I guess that's where I'd have a
No, I
strong.
know. And I brought it up because you said
Yeah.
whether we
No,
look
no, no, no.
within.
I mean, and for some people, maybe, but if you look inside and you're depressed and there's something that needs to be healed inside, that's saying the only way you're going to heal it is from the outside. But at the same time, to me, again, and it's funny because it's trivial, but it is actually, this is the issue, which is, again, I think uh, I believe all is one. So what you would say is God, that I'm also describing something immaterial that's not of this material universe, is actually what we are representing. So I just look, it is coming from inside, and I am an expression of God as everything
Oh
that I
yeah.
see. So I mean, on some levels, it's like we're saying the same thing, but then it's like there are certain things that I'm like, I just can't turn away and say that we shouldn't look inside. I mean, to me, looking inside is that's where you're going to find God, not out here separate. I look at, so I mean, I don't know. It's not that big of a deal. It is where the disagreement is. It's very small, but it is on some levels uh, a big deal. That is, but Um, I mean, those will be that's what we'll be talking about in 2040 maybe. But I hope to bring a more. I think in the past I might have had a negative perspective. I think these are good areas to discuss, and I also believe that truth. Um, that I think we can both agree that there is objective truth, and I think by questioning these, at least even if that they would get us closer to the truth, and and we can both take each other's position just as a perspective of trying to get closer to truth. I mean, even no matter what, that's I think we both share that objective truth and perfection, which we don't. I don't think either of us think we will. You know what I mean? I mean, and even from a Buddhist perspective, I mean, to be enlightened is going to take many lifetimes, and it would be something that's not really we're expecting to reach, but there is a a goal to strive for, and it is something that is uh uh I mean, I guess you could call it a limit or a I mean something we're striving for. So yeah, I basically I'm opening up and saying that there's much more similarities, even though there are a couple uh metaphysical, I guess it's more the metaphysical uh, ways of describing it, and perhaps that all it is. Maybe it's just the way we use our words to describe the same thing, perhaps. But uh, but yeah,
Um, there was another saying I heard what he said.
yeah, yeah, no.
I that other thing on the wall there was change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous in the end. But it's like the first day or two you're walking by reading those signs, you're like, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
it just means it's gonna take time, like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I don't know if I said it earlier, but I think if I'd known what to expect, I knew that the work was taken care of. Me and Tammy had talked about me going for a month or longer. Like I had a proper goodbye with the kids because even that night I was like, okay, Dad, like I packed up and I was like, I'll see you guys later. I love you. Like kind of quick hug because
yeah, yeah. Well, it's almost better
like
that way.
I think so. The holidays definitely the way I left, and then especially it's like kind of humbling. A few things I wanted to tie in that I didn't mention about the center was like humbling. It's like there's 14 guys fighting over like one roll of toilet paper or two rolls, one in each bathroom each day, and being like,
Make
and
dice
then, and then,
toilet paper.
huh?
I don't know. That's a prison thing, right? Making dice with the toilet paper, like making
Oh,
them play ball and square. Or
oh, yeah.
it's gambling. You probably couldn't gamble.
Oh,
Oh, was there any gambling or card? Any of that type? I mean,
oh, oh, oh. So
and
here, oh,
that's something that generally you put enough men, you put men in a room with
yeah.
nothing to do. That I mean, there's some sort of
Well,
gaming, right?
well,
You're allowed to.
yeah. So,
Gotta
so,
be
so
paid.
here's the thing. We play Uno, we play chess, they play backgammon.
Okay, so
But what would happen is if everybody like wasn't like reading the Bible or doing the homework, it's like they take the game away or
okay, yeah,
like
yeah,
because you kind of everybody just like I'm free like you just kind of get in that
yeah.
zone where like you start playing a game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
So
it's
they
cool.
kind
I
of
mean, it's
like
cool that games, good old-fashioned games, which are something that in the real world, the quote unquote real world, to get around to that would be so healthy. And it's funny that
oh
it's
oh
actually a very healthy thing to do, but in
yeah
this scenario, you're actually treating that as the reward. And
yeah
and and it is gaming. I love game. I mean, board games.
oh
Yeah.
yeah
God,
oh
fucking
yeah oh
get
have
right.
you played the game of was it Catan? I think
Oh, yeah. I was just
it's
gonna. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like building a
yeah
city, building, going outward. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or like develop
yeah
land developing,
yeah
colonize.
that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they had brought that game in and then everybody kept playing it so it
Yeah,
like
okay.
became like too much of a distraction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like like they kind of tend to like for example like I used to play chess all the time or play chess on with like on the phone and you kind of like reading like I kind of fell out of it
Yeah, yeah,
and being there it's like oh like I couldn't wait to like play chess with somebody later at night or
yeah, yeah.
where it's like and this is actually very important that you could almost title it Chris Adams sober or Chris
I can put your name in
sobriety.
the title.
Well, yeah,
Or
well,
no?
I think because the other ones I'm
No,
kind of embarrassed of.
Yeah.
of like Chris Adams returned sober. Because remember the other ones I was like ranting and raving and
Yeah.
but and then the other thing is you can almost thought of like 31-day digital detox because this is what's crazy is if you notice like Tammy had my phone and she's
Well,
like
I
that
mean, so it
that
digital
thing.
detox is interesting. That's no, and the funny thing is when I wrote that, I wrote to Randy before you told me that you were in, or when he said, "Oh, he's in." Yeah, I didn't. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, it did being a digital detox on its own is actually
No,
the
no, that's what I was saying is like even being out, like I knew this was going on before. It's like you're looking at the news, like on my phone, like I'm looking at the weather, I'm
yeah,
texting people, I'm
yeah,
I'm looking at
yeah,
whatever, like Tammy noticed she had my phone and she's like, it just buzzes, buzzes, buzzes because she was looking up numbers or like my grandma's number or my grandpa's number. She's like I see why you like had a breakdown because on top of everything, it's like I have the football game on, I have the USC on, like you. This is what's crazy about that. Not crazy, but in a good way. On top of everything, I found more relief. Like I won't say more, but it was when have anybody ever gone 30
no,
in this world? When would you go 30 days without your phone at all?
never happened.
30 days without TV, 30 days without radio, 30 days like
Yeah, that is actually what I want to do here. I still don't know about. I hate rules, but I want to do something. At least maybe. Yeah, I was thinking of a 1 month because I'm the time here. The best time to come here is when I want to do this event. Gathering and people can come and go. It's not like one day. I want people to come and go, and they can just. There's so many things to do around here that, and some people might still party and they can. They just come here, stay with me for a couple of days, and go to the city and party on the clubs or whatever they want to do. But there's also like little meditation retreats and hiking and camping and taking boats to Lao or something. I mean, but like as a pit stop, and some people may stay longer, but I was thinking of opening a window and offering different things and saying if you come during this time, it's a blackout, like a digital blackout for so like you can choose when
yeah.
to come because I think that is beautiful. I think I think in society we need it, but we need a place.
Oh
You need the opportunity to do it. You can't. It's like if you don't like actually absolutely set your foot down, you're always going to make exceptions, and that one exception
yeah,
blows it off. It's
yeah,
you need to be absolutely 100%.
yeah,
That's why I'm weary about doing it because if I do it, it has to be that I don't like things that are I don't like rules. I don't like saying things you have to. But if you do, you
yeah.
got to stick to it.
Well, so that so the digital detox. Dang, I had a good point. They well, let me back up on something I was thinking about earlier. Is a few things funny. Was that the guy from Pelican Bay? Like we became really good friends. He's like, I'm gonna miss you. Like one night, like because he heard I was about to leave. He's like, man, you can't leave. I'm like, why? He's like, man, you and Devon, the other guy. It's like you're the only two I really trust and really get along with, and everything. He's like, I need you to stay, buddy. You guys really encourage me because every day he's like, I want to leave. Like, I'm gonna cut off my wristband and and I'm like, yeah, Doug, I'm gonna call my wife, tell my kids that this ex felon, maybe murderer, really, really we have a friendship and he really needs me to stay for his so he completes the program. I'm kind of
Yeah,
joking about it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
told Tammy, and she's like, well, that's kind of insensitive. I'm like, you got to understand, we like joke around. Oh, he goes, one of the guys, there's a guy in there, a Russian who's older. He's like so goofy and funny. And I don't even think he was ever on drugs. Like he took some medication and he kind of just is silly. And his wife like put him there to like, because she can't really handle him at home because he's kind of goofy, but like in the funniest way.
Mhm.
Like we all loved him, like a great heart, like great guy. He kind of looks like Peter from Family Guy. And we like I learned more about these people. So that guy Doug, he's like, it actually I got tattooed right above my Peter Family Guy. I'm like, what, really? And he always do all these gay jokes, like Like, hey, put your hand here. I can make your wrist not move. Try to move your wrist. And I'd move it, and it was like above his pants. He's like, oh, don't be jacking me off. Like just silly stuff.
Yeah.
But so when he tells me like I got Family Guy tattooed right above my penis, or on his what's your abdomen? I'm like, is this another trick to get me to look at your dick? And he's like, no, it really does. He's like, I'd show you, but the cameras are right there. So before I left, I'm like, does it really say Family Guy? He's like, yeah, like this is Family Guy, or this is Peter, and this is how I make my family. And so he pulled down his thing a little bit, just to see his abdomen, and it says Family Guy.
Yeah.
And and then that's funny. And then he's like, man, I got like his tattoos are all tattooed up with demons. He's like, man, I got demons like squeezing crotches, and like I got demons all over my arms. And we're like, well, you can get those removed. He's like, no, these are memories or like art. Just like funny, like it doesn't do it justice, but when you're in this place
Yeah.
and this is another thing I wanted to say is like kind of making light of the situation, but it's all serious stuff. Is I can't believe. Okay, well, let me transition to that. There's that like the guys get in there and like after a few days, like you find out what they're in there for. You're like, oh, so and so's acting a little weird, and and you talk to like somebody and like, oh yeah, he came here because he's says he's demon possessed and he hears voices, and he was saying that his bunkie was has the devil in him when he was trying to attack him. And I'm like, well, and we had to do an exorcism out in the prayer room. I'm like, well, that info would have been good to know like
Yeah.
a few days ago, like because you're living with this guy,
Yeah.
you know. And then there was another guy, like a younger, I don't know if he was Russian, but like skinny, kind of looked like he was just like, what's it called? Like super skinny, played video games or just
Yeah.
like you're like, oh, what is his thing? We were at church, all of a sudden you hear, oh, and he has a seizure and like falls over right next to me and like hits his head straight on the carpet, like head first and like stiff. Like, so, like, what I mean is it's not funny stuff, but I'm saying like you're like in the situation where like random stuff's happening. You're just like the ambulance is coming. He came back a few days later and we were at a Bible study off campus with this business owner who teaches. And the guy's like gets up and he went outside to talk to pull the leader aside and he had another seizure. Luckily on the cement, luckily the leader was standing right in front of him and caught him. So like one of the guys is like, so and so's having a seizure outside. I can see through the blinds. So we're like looking. And then, with that case, it's like he was coming off of benzos or he was on anxiety medication for like 10 years. And with that stuff, you can't like I think Jordan Peterson went through it like it messes up your whole system. So they're like, we can't have him here. He needs medical attention. Like medical supervision. But here's the other thing: is some of the leaders they would tell their testimony like, I OD'd on fentanyl 4 times last year. Um, I didn't realize how big fentanyl was, like locally, or like you hear stories,
Mhm.
but like 3 or 4 people in there were like, oh,
I was saying,
fentanyl,
no,
or
everybody, every podcast I've had, somebody knows personally somebody that's died.
well, yeah. What's crazy is like I can't believe like people actively do it or look for it. They're like, there's different
Oh,
colors.
yeah,
Like you
yeah.
shoot it up.
A
Like
lot of it
yeah,
is by accident. It's laced. It's
yeah.
easy.
Like these people are like that's what like their drug of choice was. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and and I didn't know this. There's Narcan, which is I guess what you give to people when they OD. So like I guess one of the guys had like this experience with his friends. Like I think I might die tonight because they had a bunch of stuff, and he was like, I'm not feeling good. Let's go into Walmart to the pharmacy and get some. I'm like, you can just go in and get some. And they went in, and the guy was super. He thought his friend was outside dying, so he went into the pharmacist and he's like, I just need Narcan. The guy pushed a bunch over the counter and just gave it to him for free. I'm like, first of all, I didn't know you can get it. Second of all, I thought it would be like prescribed or,
Yeah.
but later that night, the other guy was fine. The guy who got it, who was one of our leaders, uh, died, and because luckily they had all that Narcan from earlier, like hours before that,
Yeah.
in the car, because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to
Yeah.
um,
Is that shit you
bring him back to life.
and you inject right in their heart? Like Pulp Fiction?
No, I don't know what it. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is. I think it goes in and blocks,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
I should look it up, but
It's like
I've heard of it
anti-caffeine.
because there's other people, girls have given testimony saying they got out of jail at that place. Oh, that's the other thing is there's a girl center. We're not allowed to talk to them, but every time we go to church or we like one day a week, they'd come over to the house for Bible study, but they have to sit like across the room,
That's just
and they do a program
testing your
too, and you're
lust.
not allowed to
Yeah.
look at them or,
Yeah.
I mean, you
That's,
can glance, but you
yeah.
just
I
can't
mean,
be like,
well, I mean, yeah. I mean, but that's why even do that to you? That's like a test.
well, it's just it's kind of a thing that's like what I was saying is I was in the men's side, and there's
Yeah.
another house like
Yeah.
in that city, which are the girls.
Yeah.
Um, but with them, they let their kids come if they need, like after like a month or
Oh,
a
okay.
week. It's like it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay.
Like they babysit for like for work or um, yeah. There was a couple other things, but yeah, it was just what I was saying is like everybody like you're in a house with like some people are coming off of like crystal, some people are coming off of pharmaceutical, some are just like I said, the one guy was kind of goofy, but like
I say
hilarious.
some could be do it for. I mean that would actually be. I mean that would be good for anybody, and just on its own, a digital detox
Yeah.
alone.
Oh yeah.
Or
So when I got
workaholic
home,
or anything. I mean, I think something like that. That's actually why what I kind of want to do if I can recreate something like that. I mean, that just seems beneficial on every level. If
yeah.
the only thing is, can your lifestyle provide it? Of course, that you've got work and family, but if 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 things are in order and you are fortunate enough to have that opportunity where you can just check out of life for a month, it's beneficial on every level.
It's so Violet did make a joke like because she's like, you remember how to drive, Daddy? I'm like, so that's one thing. It's like you're getting driven around. People are making you
Yeah.
food. You get to read the Bible. I get to go to the sauna every day. I get to go in the ice bath. Like all the stuff I wanted to do when I was
Yeah.
on the outside, read the Bible, do less of my phone, not drink, you know, uh, go to the ice bath, work out. Like that's what I'm saying. It's a blessing in so many ways.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
you
Oh
know.
yeah. No, I
And
mean,
then here's what
yeah,
I want to say was that the other thing was I think because kind of having like a traumatic or broken childhood, like blessed in many ways, like loving stuff, but just my dad being in and out of jail and on drugs and all that stuff. It's like you kind of like get a little excitement out of drama, like or I'm like dealing with that with myself, where it's like I don't like people like hurting each other or cussing, but like when there's little drama, it's like kind of funny, like in the
yeah.
house or
Oh,
like when people
yeah,
upset, like the guy having a seizure and hopefully he's okay, but it's like kind of like what's going on or like the
yeah,
demon possessed guy, like
yeah,
I don't want to glorify it. I'm saying
yeah.
it's like
It's
it's like when people are complaining to leaders and there's drama because so and so's snoring and so and so's complaining because every time he's asleep, so and so like slams the door or like it comes to like petty stuff, you know.
uh-huh,
But it's like, ooh, there's like you kind of get like a little like,
yeah,
oh, here we go, like so and so's fighting with the leader. We're like, calm down, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
kind of yeah. It's just like I think when you live like a kind of sanitized life where it's like go to work, school, or kids, like there was part of being there that was like kind of fun, like in random. Where like, oh, we're going here, we're going there, or okay, we're gonna demo. Before I left the week before, we demoed one bathroom, and now there's 14 guys with one bathroom.
yeah,
Oh, this is what I was gonna say too. It's like humbling because at my current house, like I would go get a massage. I could back in the day, I think before I left, I get beer anytime. I like access like I have a like we just got this nice new house with a pool outside with like
yeah,
toilet paper all over the house, like healthy food, like coffee whenever you want. And then you go to this place and it's like you're sharing a bathroom, like hurry up because of the cold water. Like you go to take a shower, it's cold water. Uh, if you went, like you wouldn't like this, but everybody has to shave. You have to be clean shaven. Uh, like little things, like it's kind of humbling, like but in a good way, with like you're not in trouble, you're not in jail,
Yeah.
you kind of are there by your own will. Like so some people would show up and leave the next day. Like they get dropped off and be like on coke or coming down and just being like, oh, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So some people like a new brother's coming in tonight, guys, and then by the morning they'd be gone, you know.
You heckle them when they left. Oh, you can't handle it.
Well,
Oh,
well, well, it's you'd
I
wake
give
up and they'd be gone.
it. Yeah.
But
Oh,
here's what
it's something like, ah, what'd you
I
even come for?
really liked
Pussy.
is like that my all my talks with that black guy, like we became really good friends and stuff. And then like the Mexicans, like we all became like good friends. And then this like half the house was Russian and Ukrainian. So it's like the Slavics like get along because they're more straightforward and like they don't really seem to talk crap. You know, like you just bond with them. Like you go to they're the ones that went to the sauna every night. So you're in there and they're all talking Ukrainian. They make little jokes or
Yeah.
it's like it was cool to be like in that environment with like all these different races and or
Yeah.
cultures. No, not even
Yeah.
races,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for doing this. I think I covered pretty much everything
No,
unless you
no.
have
Good. I mean, yeah, I hope to do it again and maybe get we got Corey to come talking. He sounds like he's getting ready to do one
no,
and
that'd be good.
yeah, I mean, it's good to talk to
Uh,
you, to have you love
yeah,
you.
that I think what's crazy is I've heard people do podcasts saying time flew. I think it's been like over 3.5 hours.
Shit, yeah, it's 4 here and we start at 12. That's 4 hours. Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Oh, we just started a little after 12, but yeah, over 3.5 hours. Yeah, there you
Wow.
go. Yeah, it was pretty quick. I mean, flew, right? Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't have thought you had that much to talk about. It was nonstop talking, though, actually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Good.
Well, I love you, brother. And that's the thing on Scarlett's birthday. I
Yeah.
was like, and Chaya's. That's when I was really like, oh, I didn't tell Chris David. He's probably worried. Like,
Yeah.
not worried.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did it.
Like,
You knew that.
I was thinking about you for like 2 or 3 days. I'm like, dang.
Well, I mean, I knew,
Like,
I mean, I was worried. Yeah, I was worried, but I knew that, I mean, I knew that you didn't just, I knew something, but then that's why I reached out and I was like, shit, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, through Randy, and then Randy contacted Sammy, and I don't know if Sammy knew already or he had to call and make.
yeah, Sam.
Were there other people because you didn't know you were being there? Was everybody?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. That car right there. I told Travis. I told my mom. I told Donnie. I told Russ. I told Sam. But it's like that thing where like it was so rushed that I wasn't even thinking
And
of
you weren't
like I got to
expecting to
tell
get caught back
everybody,
up. Yeah, I
huh?
did.
And like I said, I thought it was just going for a few days.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you weren't necessarily.
All right. Well, I do want to come visit you when the girls get a little bit older. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be nice, yeah, to bring them all here and stuff. And it's so amazing. They love it. I mean, they love the elephant sanctuary. That's a big deal where you get to play with the elephants and play in the mud with them.
oh,
That's crazy.
like I'm kind of excited. Like I don't know if it's a maturity thing, but like I'm kind of excited to be so like I want to work out. I want to like get healthy. Like I want
Yeah,
to like do projects.
there you
Like I
go.
want
Good
to.
to hear, my man.
No, I
And
know, but you know what I mean.
yeah, no, it is.
Like I have that new like
It is.
lust for
It's a
life.
different.
Or
It's a different high now. Like I mean, for me, yeah, it's my land. I mean, my rock. I could tell you. I can't. When you ask, hey, how you doing? I start talking about my rock walk. I could talk about that forever, but that's less exciting. But like to me, that's what it is. I can see out my window. Oh yeah, I gotta cut the weed. I gotta pull back some weeds because I'm like in the. I'm just like creating this enchanted forest out of and I'm working with nature. I see things grow and pop up. I'm like, ooh, do I keep it? Do I take it out? Because some things are like weeds and vines. Some of the vines will climb up the trees and kind of smuggle them. So it's like, okay, that's a bad vine. And even a couple guys always look at. Is this a good vine or a bad vine? Ask me, and it's like sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I gotta.
you don't call him Chai anymore.
No, he doesn't like it, so I call him Gabba.
Oh,
Yeah. His I mean, technically Chaya is just a nickname anyway. His name is We Run Santi Chaya Butkresi. So he just gets his own that Chaya's a nickname that we decided to call him, but he doesn't like it. I don't know exactly why, but I know we do have a plant that's called Chaya, and and he doesn't maybe he doesn't want to be the same name as a tree. But it's funny because he the first time we heard he said that name was he was like it's like on his 1.5 birthday. And we didn't even know why he said it. We were on this boat on the river and he just yells out "Gabaga!" And I have that on videotape too. It's cool because it's on the video that I made for this. I don't know if it was his second birthday or 1.5 or something, but yeah, we did this boat trip and then it was a couple months later he kept saying this Gabaga, and then we realized that's he's referring to himself. So it's totally like just that's to him, that's who he is. I mean, he refers to himself that way, and it was deeply rooted from whatever thing. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of cool that you come up with your own way to refer to yourself. So I got to go with that.
Oh,
I got to give him
yeah.
that because
Yeah.
I was.
Well,
I mean, I think you said the same thing. Like Chris, I don't to tell you the truth, I wish I could have chose my name. Like Chris, I was there's so many Chris's, right? Christopher, you can go by Topher, say Chris D. Obviously, Chris D sounds like Christy, so it's like I don't want to go first name, last initial. And I kind of chose that or C. David. Sometimes I don't know when that popped up, but that was. But he over here it got shortened to CD, so I'm mostly go by CD. But it's like it's hard to find the name. I almost don't like names to be like it's. So the fact that he came up with his own name that he wants to be referred to, I gotta respect. Yeah. So
yeah. But that reminds me, one funny story that I wasn't going to tell, but since it's the end of this podcast, then nobody will probably like
I don't know.
anybody I would be
I'd skip to
concerned
the
of
end. They'll listen to the first 10 minutes and I'll skip to the end. So they're gonna get just this. But go ahead, tell us.
is a lot of things in the house are like respect. Like a lot of people have ego,
Mhm.
like and like I would joke around with people or and so towards the end they would like call me Christina, or like you have a water bottle and you write Chris on it, and then you come back and like you're drinking out of it, it says Christina, and you're like that's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah,
Like I would never get mad. And like I have like tights because it was cold there, so I'd like wear tights or I'd be changing. People are like, "What are you wearing, girls?" I'm like,
yeah.
"No, I like my legs being warm under my pants or under my
Thermals
shorts."
or like spandex.
No, like
Thermals, right? Is that thermal material?
no, I mean
Oh, those are
kind of that
spandex.
same idea as thermals, but it's
Those are, yeah, you're gonna get made fun of those. No, I didn't can see those.
yeah. But so but like so I kind of like wrestling where it's like this one guy would like punch me, like kind of joking around, but it kind of hurt. But then there's cameras, and it's like I don't want to get mad and be like, "Don't punch me." So I'd
Yeah.
start wrestling.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
yeah,
like I got him in like in the room, I got him in like a neck choke, like I basically like was choking him out with like and stuff. And he was like bending my fingers and stuff, but like he's like, "Oh, you're pretty tough, you know." And then this is the funny story I was gonna tell you is that Doug guy, which if he hears this, this was kind of a funny story. Uh, he, don't get mad. Uh, one morning, like he was like the only time I really get mad or like swing at somebody is like if I'm asleep and like they wake you up abruptly, or like
okay.
I don't know. Sometimes like for example, like I was resting my eyes on the couch at that house one day, and a guy walked by and like slapped his hands right in front of me, and without even thinking, I just like kicked who was ever in front of me.
Yeah,
But if I was awake or thinking,
sure.
I
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
maybe reacted differently.
yeah.
So at like we had to get up at like 6:20 or 6:30 in the morning one day, and I wake up to being poked, and I like turn around, and that guy standing over my bed, like over my bunk bed, like staring at me. And in a split second, I reached over and I slapped him in his face,
Yeah.
and like kind of in confusion, but like I kind of
I don't
knew
know
what I
what
was
the hell's
doing, but
going on,
it's
but that was unacceptable. Like
yeah,
somebody's slapping us. Yeah,
yeah. And then I just realized I slapped him hella hard, and he's standing over that guy from Pelican Bay,
yeah,
and I'm like, oh, what's going on? Oh, what?
yeah.
Oh, sorry, man. Like you scared me. I don't know what's going on. And
Yeah.
he's just like, time to get up. And then I leave the
He
room,
knows
and
too. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, he knows what's up. I mean,
yeah, but it's just like, so I get out of the
yeah,
room, and
yeah,
Devon, or the other guy, like the other gangster guy's like going to the brush his teeth. I'm like, yeah, I just slapped the shit out of Doug. Like, what's up now? Like he came at me, and I was just like, get out of here, like talking, and
yeah,
then like kind of making fun of it, like,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I don't know. It's like, but anyways, everybody like joke around with me and everything. Like basically, there's some people in there you do anything, they're like, dude, you gotta like put that guy straight because he's just gonna keep picking on you, or It's like no, it's like fun where like you walk by and they like give you a Charlie horse or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I kind of just rolled with it, like
Mhm.
punch them later, like in the side or something, you know. Or
Yeah.
but I never want to escalate things to like for my respect or ego.
Oh, for sure.
Like
Yeah.
don't talk. Like some guy would be like, "What the fuck?" Da, da, da. They're like, "Why do you let him talk to you like that?" It's like, ah, fuck him. Like I'm not gonna. I don't know. Like I was making jokes. Like I'm just trying to do my 30 days. Get like I was doing like hard time. Like just
Yeah.
trying to get out of here and
Yeah.
keep my head down. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, God is great.
Yes.
All right,
All right. We'll
all
do
right.
it again.
I love you. So we'll do another
Uh,
podcast after you read Proverbs or the
Yeah.
New Testament. All
Yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
yeah. Stay clean,
Yeah.
stay in shape, white power.
No, I'm gonna get buff again. I think because I'm 41, I think I can make one more good run at getting in really good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do it.
All
Do
right.
it. All right,
All right.
brother. Love
Love
you.
you. All right.